What is up, YouTube? All right, this is Sunflower Film Studios. We are back. I'm so happy to be here. We're going to be doing our first ever review for the movie of Project Hail Mary. As you can see on the. Oh, oh, yeah, there you go. As you can see from the movie poster. So, the reason I want to start off with this movie is because this movie is like an amazing movie. If you have not seen this, definitely go see this. Um, Also, if you've not seen my intro video, where I kind of talk about how we're gonna like do the movie breakdowns, definitely go check that out because I'm not gonna really sit here and be like, okay, this is the next part. Oh, this is the next part. I'm kind of just gonna get into my different things. So if you are definitely interested in that, definitely go check out that video. I do pretty good. I hope I do a pretty good job at explaining that. But yes, I do explain in that video. Hey, this is part one, two, three, so on. But yes. But yeah, so like I said, today we're gonna be going over Project Hail Mary. Kind of how this video is gonna work is gonna be broken up into two parts. Just like many other movie YouTube reviewers. There's gonna be a spoiler-free part, and then there's gonna be it's gonna be a spoiler part. So this first part's gonna be a spoiler-free, and then after that we're gonna get into the spoilers. All right, but before we start, like I said, this is my first actual review video, so we're gonna be getting all uh the jammies out, getting all the frights. But yeah, like I said, this is a really good movie. We'll kind of get into that in a minute, but I mean, I guess we'll just get into it now. All right. So basically, starting off this movie, we're gonna put it kind of do a brief little intro with my own words. So basically, without saying any spoilers, this movie is about a man who finds himself in space. He kind of just like wakes up in space from a coma, and he finds out he's sent on this mission to go save Earth and the solar system. Because all the stars in all of the solar systems, the whole universe, are dimming. As he's on his way there, he starts to uncover his past, things about himself that he doesn't know when he wakes up, and then also when he's there, he discovers an alien named Rocky. These guys become best friends, and he actually realizes these guys are pretty smart aliens. He's a scientist. He's actually sent there on the same mission. So together, they end up working on this mystery of why all these stars are dimming and how can they save their respective planets slash solar systems. So that's basically the plot of the movie without me like going into crazy, crazy details. But this movie actually has a big few names. If you have not seen it, or if you could see the poster, we got Ryan Gosling in here. He's playing Dr. Ryland Grace, the main protagonist of the film. He is the man I was talking about that is trapped in space on the Project Hail Mary. And then we also have Sandra Hüller. She's playing Ava Stratt. She is the lady that is in charge of Project Hail Mary back on Earth. She kind of is, in charge of all the scientists, the actual mission itself. She's the big dog. We also got somebody named James Ortiz. He is actually the head puppeteer for Rocky and the voice. He does a really good job. We'll get into that in a minute. There's also Lionel Bryce or Boyce. I think that's correctly Lionel Boyce. He is from The Bear. If you have ever seen that show, he plays a security guard named Carl. He's pretty awesome. And then we have two other pretty big actors and actresses. We got Ken Leung, and then we have Milena Vayntrub. Both awesome actors, pretty good actresses in this movie. And then beyond that, there's some other like small people, but other than that, for like a pretty big movie, it has a pretty small cast. But yeah, those are the big hitters. If you've seen Ryan Gosling or seen Sandra Hüller, any of those other actors or actresses, then you might know them if you watch this movie. This movie is going to be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So if you've seen any of the other movies like the Lego Movie, the Spider Verse movies, then you know them. They're pretty successful, pretty big directors. Every time they put out a movie, it's like a really big hit, and this one is exactly like that. It's insane. I think when this came out, which it came out in March 20th, it was a pretty big hit. Like okay, that's an understatement. Like it is still a big hit. Like it may not be in theaters anymore. Actually, it still is in theaters. Just like not XD, like how it is on the opening weekend, but it's still in theaters, which is crazy because we're in July now. Now that we're filming this, which you might be thinking like, okay, Josh, shouldn't you have filmed this like a lot earlier? Yes. But anyway, beyond that, yeah, no, the movie's still huge. Like the way I kind of think about it's kind of like Top Gun treatment in the 80s. like, Top Gun was a crazy, like, successful film, and it stayed in theaters for a long, long time. So this is the same idea. Project Hail Mary extremely successful, and it's been able to stay in theaters for a really, really long time. So kudos to everybody that worked on Project Hail Mary. It's been a wildly successful film. Um, it is actually okay. So this movie is gonna be based off the book Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and if you don't know who this is, you might know his other book slash movie. It's not his movie, but it's a movie inspired by his book, which is The Martian with Matt Damon. Amazing movie, which I will love to break down on this channel eventually. But yes, if you have seen The Martian, the writer of the book, Andy Weir, also wrote Project Hail Mary. So this is also kind of his book, his movie too, kind of like a sequel. And not really, but if you get what I'm saying, then it is. But yeah. So if you like The Martian, yeah, this is definitely in the same road for you. And then other than that, like I said, there's not really other big news kind of relating to this movie. We talked with the director, we contacted the actors and actresses. But yeah, let's kind of get into the brief review. And like I said, there's gonna be no spoilers in this part. But yeah, like I keep saying it, but this movie's really, really good. And like that's not an understatement. Like so, this is a sci-fi film. Obviously, it's set in space. It's set on space and Earth, but like okay, it doesn't feel like a generic sci-fi movie, you know? Like, it's not the end of the okay, well, like, it is the end of the world, because like, what's going on? But, like, it's not, like, doom and gloom, stuff like that. Like, there's really good, like, comedy and drama aspects in this film that, like, it makes you feel. And that obviously, that's what it's supposed to be doing, but it does it in such a good job. Like, we're not getting, like, corny, like, MCU comedy. Like, no, like, you're getting genuine, just like, we're like the actors and actresses playing off of each other, like, really good comedy. And then you have those moments where you're like, you really can feel what the characters are going through. And that's just props again to the actors and actresses and the writing. And on top of that, you're with these world-class directors and cinematographers that are just making this movie just visually beautiful. And then the music is amazing, the visual effects, the SFX, the ship design, the planets, space. It's just a visually appealing movie. So first off the bat, if you love visually appealing space movies, then yes. But it's not in the sense, like Star Wars, where you're seeing like 800 different like species and all these different planets. Like it's a very like pretty realistic like look on space. And like I think that's what brings a lot of beauty to it. Like when you look out into the stars, it's empty, like, in the sense that there's not like 800 planets, but there's like millions of stars. Like you can feel the depth, of the space, and I think that's really beautiful. Or like later, when you see a planet, like the planet's beautiful, like, just, like, visually beautiful, but in the size, compared to Ryan Gosling, Ryan Grace, it's like night and day, like, he's this big on the ship, and the planet's, like, humongous, and, like, I don't know, it's just a visually appealing movie. And then, like I said, the acting is superb, like, top of the notch. Um some people might be like, "Okay, well, this is a pretty early film, like, will it be, Oscar nom?" I actually think so, I'll get into this obviously in the spoiler section. I think Sandra Hüller and Ryan Gosling put up some of the best performances in this film, or, like, everybody's doing a good job, but, like, their performances are standouts. Like, the way they each act, because like, again, I don't wanna get into spoilers, like, the way they each act, like, they can play off of each other, but they can also play separately, and it works super well for this film and what it's trying to say. I don't know, they do, like, a really, really great job. And so, like, if you're watching this movie, you're never gonna be bored. Like, the movie moves in a pretty, like, fast pace. Now, I will say, it does flashbacks, every now and then, and you might be like, "Oh," like, "We're getting somewhere," and then we do a flashback. But, it's not one piece where, like, "Oh, I throw a punch, let's do a flashback. Oh, I throw another punch, let's do a fa" like, it's not like that. Like, it feels very fluid. Now, I will say the movie is on the longer end. It is 2 hours and 36 minutes. So, you're not really prone to like this. Like when I say a long movie, like this, like that's is a long movie, but I feel like modern audiences have kind of been around for a little longer, like three, pushing three and a half. Like yes, it is on the longer half of movies, but like I don't know. I feel like audiences can like sit in the movie and not be like, just like bored. But I mean, if you are not, you like are somebody that doesn't really like, longer films, then I mean, maybe that last act might get you. But I would say for the most part, like, nah, like that movie keeps you pretty invested, and like the story, like it doesn't really give you a slow down moment, which I will say is another pro. It is another pro. What are some other great things? Like the acting, like I said, is amazing. And I want to say like Ryland Grace, like Ryan Gosling and Rocky, the alien, their relationship is amazing. Like I know I'm reviewing this like months later, but if you have not seen like this movie online at all, like like where have you been living? Like you must be under a rock. But like no, in all seriousness, like Rocky and Ryan, like Ryland Grace, Ryan Gosling, just I don't know which one to say, but like their chemistry in the movie, like as characters, is just phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it. And like for a good part of the movie, like Rocky's not there, so like you get to just see Ryan Gosling do his thing. But the moment that Rocky gets there, I say it just like takes a movie up a whole notch, right? You're just like wow, this is like we're really getting going. Like this movie's like it's really like making you feel something. But, yeah, like I said, it's a really good movie. I do, like, highly suspect you see it. Like I said, acting is superb, visual effects are superb. Like, I think anybody that just, like, likes film will love it. I think anybody that's, like, a casual watcher, you'd really enjoy it. Like, I don't think this is, like, like a film bro movie or just a sci-fi film. Like obviously it's a sci-fi film, but like I said, it's not like a generic sci-fi film. Like what it's trying to say is different, but it's still like in the realm of sci-fi. So I still think it's a really good film if you like sci-fi. And then like I said, if you like movies, it's a good film. And if you're just a casual moviegoer, then you'll really like it. Now, how would I suggest watching it? Well, obviously, since I'm doing this a lot later, you can't really watch it in theaters. Now, I will say if you do like get the chance or like the movie theaters do re-release it in theaters, or actually since I was saying there's still showtimes, you should go see it. Obviously, like if the movie theater is like, I don't know, like an hour away from you, I mean, I'd probably still say still go see it. But, obviously you don't wanna be spending, like, a whole hour drive just to go out there. Like, okay, see, like, I'm saying that, but, like, I think if you spent the hour to go out there and watch it, you wouldn't be like, "I wasted my time driving," right? Like, you would be like, "Wow, that was a really great film." So, like, I really wanna say go watch it in theaters, you know? But, as the life of the movie, like, as the movie stays in theaters longer, you know, they get rid of show times, especially like in busier seasons, like now we're in summer. There's like movies dropping every weekend, and so it's filling up show times in theaters. So like older movies don't get as long as the time to stay in those theaters. So like I mean obviously, and as you do that, theaters will regress with the amount of show times. So less theaters have to film. But yeah, like if you can go see it in theaters, I highly, highly recommend it. Like, you most definitely should go see it in theaters. But if you can't, like, yeah, go watch it on streaming. Like, I think it, like, literally yesterday, it just hopped on Amazon Prime or MGM Plus, like, maybe both. I don't know. Oh, that's another thing. This movie is brought to you by MGM and Amazon. So if you were curious, like, who released this movie? It was Amazon and MGM. It was basically MGM, but Amazon owns MGM, so kind of just mushed them together. But that kind of explains why it's on Prime and MGM Plus. But yeah, the movie just got on streaming, so like yeah, like if you really like don't have the time to be driving out to a theater, which again I highly suggest you go watch this in theaters because like I was saying, the visual effects, the sound effects, everything, it like I just know it's like 20 times better in theaters. I didn't get to watch it in theaters. I saw it like later, but if you could just like like when it if it ever comes out to theaters, I really want to watch it again. Like I really, really want to go watch it in theaters. And I just know like if you're in an XD theater or just like any theater really, like it'll really make it feel cinematic. And that's another thing that like I'll get into later in the spoiler free section, but I think this movie brings back like kind of like what it like means to like watch a movie. Like in today's day and age, like yes, we have movies. Like don't get me wrong, and obviously movies as a like as an art medium have evolved since like when they first came out. And so, they make up like throughout the time like different like they each have their different like taste and like flavor of like what a movie is, like what defines a movie. Is a movie black and white? Is a movie have sound? Does a movie have color? Stuff like that. But like that's not really what I'm getting into. Like when you think a movie, you're thinking character, you're thinking good characters, thinking good story, and visually appealing. Like you're watching it to be teleported into this world and to care about these characters and the conflict that's going on. But like the main pool are the things that make it a movie. Like I said, the visual effects, the sound effects, the soundtrack, all of that. Like when it's put in a theater, like you're transported away. And that's what I love about movies, right? Like, I think that's the best thing, and I think Project Hail Mary is a great example of that, because, like I was gonna say, like, nowadays, like, we kinda get movies that aren't exactly like that. You're gonna get your sequels, you're gonna get your remakes, and you're gonna get, the newest, superhero movie, and, like, that's not me dogging on any of those. Like, movies has evolved just from, like, a visual, like, masterpiece, like, they have we have those sequels, we have a superhero movie every now and then, we have a war movie every now and then, but yes, can they be visual appealing? Yes, I do think so. Can they teleport you to that universe? Yes, and they do, but, I mean, I think it's also, like, transform into its own thing, but I think this like, when you go back and you're like, "That is a movie masterpiece, that's what this movie is." Um, so, like, I'm kinda dick riding this movie, but, like, yeah, no, like, it deserves it. That's what I'm saying, like, you should definitely, definitely go see it in theaters. Like, it's a really great movie. Like, I don't think anybody will, like, come out of this and be like, "Wasted my time." Like, if you did, then, like, your opinion. You can decide whatever you want about this movie, but I'm just saying what I saw, what I think, and what I think you guys will like. It's a really good it's a really great movie. Like, I really don't see how anybody doesn't enjoy this. And like, I don't know, just go check it out. Like, it's perfect, it's perfect. Let me know down below, like, what your thoughts are on this film, right? Like, I love chatting with people, hearing different people's opinions on movies, Like, like, on Letterboxd, I'll go and read other people's opinions, some of them are kinda just like but some of them are, like, really interesting, you get some really interesting takes on movies, because it's art form. Everybody takes art differently, they interpret it differently, and I think that's something that's really beautiful, and I think that's why movies are awesome, right? Like, it's a visual thing, you can see so many things, right? But, yeah, so that is the spoiler-free section. Like I said, highly recommend you go see it. Definitely go see it in theaters if you can. If you cannot, it's in streaming. Like I said, it's gonna be in Amazon Prime and MGM Plus. So definitely check it out at your earliest convenience. All right, getting into spoiler-free section. So listen, spoiler-free, meaning there are spoilers. So meaning, if you have not seen the movie, do not keep watching. If you want to, you can keep watching, but I'm warning you, spoilers. I don't I don't have an editor to put, like, "Spoiler alert!" So I'm just gonna be like, right? Like, I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that. But, yeah, spoilers. Going on from this moment forward in the film, there are spoilers, so I don't wanna be hearing, Josh, you spoiled the movie for me." I'm gonna grab that face I just made in the video, clip art, like, clip it, with Microsoft, and I'm gonna put it in the comments about but, yeah, no, jokes aside, this is spoiler section. We just got done with spoiler free, and we're just gonna be breaking down a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, in my introduction video, I'm going in way more depth than just like, "Oh, yeah, I like the film." Like, we're going into themes, stories, production, all sorts of stuff. So, like, this is gonna be the big meaty chunk of the film, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you haven't seen the film and you don't want spoilers, go ahead and watch the film. But if you don't care, you just wanna hear my opinion, just stay. Like, I don't I'm more than happy to more than happy to have you watch the film, and, like, I'd love for you to come watch the film when you're done watching the movie. Hear what I have to say. Alright, so let me just preface, as I said, like, literally a few minutes ago, film is an art form, meaning people interpret it differently, just like any other art. So whatever I say in my movie reviews, it's my opinion. Now, obviously, the director, the writer, the actor might want you to take something particular from the film, but at the end of the day, whoever's watching it's still going to take their opinion, right? They're still going to be like, "Oh, I liked what they did there," whether or not that was intentional, right? If it is intentional, then yeah, like pat on the back, like yeah, you picked that one up, like good job, Bucko. Like especially something like a Wes Anderson film, like maybe sometimes you're like really like what the fuck? But and then like, maybe you do get it. Like you understand what he's trying to say there, and you're really happy. Like pound them back. Like I would love it if every time I made a video, I had like a 10 out of 10. Like oh, I got every little detail right. But I know that's that's probably not going to happen. Like you might be sitting here like what what is Josh saying? Like, are we yapping? Are we thinking like too deep? Like, here are the lines. Like Josh, you might be like way in between. But yeah, like I said, this is just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not gonna address like every little like detail in the film. Like, we're not gonna sit here and like pause and be like, oh wait, this right here, and like do a whole like 8 paragraphs. Like, if I could, I would, but I'm like we would be here all day. But, yeah, no, like, I'm gonna get into my opinion, if I don't see something, then, like, let me know, like I was saying, like, I want to talk to you guys about these movies. I love talking to people about movies. I think talking to people about movies is, like, literally one of my favorite things ever. Like, outside of comics, outside of video games, like, I don't know, like, when I sit down in a movie and I watch it, like, I'm not just watching the movie, like, I'm watching what it's supposed to be telling me. I'm watching the visual production side of it, and I don't know, it's beautiful. I love all the work that goes into movies and, like, what they're trying to say. And so, like, when I get to talk to people about that, but sometimes, people don't always watch movies like that. They just watch it to watch it. And sometimes I do that too. I kind of just, like, blank out, but I kinda gotta remind myself, like, "Hey, Josh, uh, what's the underlying theme here?" How about okay. But yeah, no, like, not everybody thinks like that, and that's whatever. Like people can do what they want when they watch a movie, right? But when I do meet people like me, like it's interesting. Like I love it. So like I said, if you want to tell me something like, hey Josh, you missed this, or like, oh, did you think about this? Or, maybe I don't agree with that, but what about this? Like definitely let me know. I'm more than happy to check it out. And sometimes like I said, 9 times out of 10, like you bring something up and I'm just like, "What?" Like, I probably didn't even see it. Or maybe something you have to say has like, you added on to, like, what I'm saying, it just makes it, like, 20 times better, right? But yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, basically, how we're gonna start this section is we're gonna do, like, a brief rundown of the movie, so that's why we're in the spoiler section, and then we'll kinda get into, themes, right? Story, metaphors and all that. So, like I said, basically this film starts off with Dr. Ryland Grace, who is Ryan Gosling. He wakes up in the middle of space, like in the Project Hail Mary ship, like from a coma, and he's kind of just like, "What?" He's been in space for like I think 11 point something, basically 11 years and some change, and obviously his body's not used to, like, not being able to move. So, obviously, he's not there right away. He doesn't remember everything, and that's a big part of the movie. He doesn't remember everything. And like I was saying earlier, we go through flashbacks, and he does remember everything. So, like, that is a motif that we see in this film. But basically, when he wakes up, he notices that there were 2 other passengers in the film oh, sorry, in the ship, and they have passed away. They did not make it the whole way through. And so he kinda, when he starts remembering everything, he finds their belongings because he's trying to figure out who he is, and he finds their belongings, and he kind of realizes who they are, and he kind of gives them like a goodbye, right? He sends them into space with their belonging, or some of their belongings, and he kind of gives them like I was saying a goodbye, giving them some peace at space, which is really nice. As we're going along, we get a flashback to Riley and Grace, obviously in the past. He is a school teacher. I think he's a middle school teacher. He's a middle school science teacher, and he's teaching his kiddos about sound vibrations, which are really cool. It's a really cool Easter egg because Araki, the alien that he meets, works off of echolocation. So that was a cool little thing. But basically, he's talking to the students, and the students are like, "Hey, um, is it like, is this what we're seeing on the news is real?" And he's like, "Don't really want to talk about it." And then they keep badgering him, and he's like, "Yes, there is this thing in space, like in our solar system, called the Petrova line." And basically, he describes it saying that the Petrova line is this line from Earth to Mercury, no, Earth to Venus. It's this red streak, and it's kind of covering up the sun. And if it keeps going like that, and it keeps growing, then it's going to affect Earth in the next couple of years. And if that happens, then obviously the crops are going to die. Food is going to be at a shortage. The world's going to kind of like, not completely collapsing on itself, but basically, yeah. So he kind of explains this to his students, even though he's kind of like weary. Like he doesn't like obviously like who wants to tell their middle school students like, yeah, we're pretty fucked. Like yeah, like no one wants to have that discussion. But basically after that, he like he leaves class and he gets confronted. He gets confronted by the Sandra Healer's character, who is named Ava Strat. And as the movie goes on, you learn out that Ava Strat is actually the lady in charge of Project Hail Mary. So she basically comes up to Grace and she's like, "Hey, is this your paper? Is this paper yours? It's a scientific discovery of why because when Grace was still, I guess in graduate school, he made this I don't want to call it a doctorate, but it might be. It's just he put up a paper saying that basically life doesn't need water to live, like H2O or hydrogen, or I'm sorry, yeah, basically water, H2O. Like life doesn't need water to live. Um, and like obviously he got clowned on because everybody was like, "Bro, chat, what are you saying?" Like no, like obviously like any form of life needs H2O. So basically everybody laughs in his face and he kind of just like ended up like, like being a nobody. That's why he ended up being a school teacher. And he was like, I don't really want to talk about that, like it's like kind of like like a bad part of my past. And she's like, well, I'm looking for, like crazy thinkers like that, people that look beyond the box. They're thinking outside the box. And he's like, okay. But she basically asked him like, "Hey, do you want to come work on a project about the Petrova line?" And he basically says yes eventually. After kind of being hesitant, it's like, "Oh no, I don't want to do it." And he's like, "Oh, I'll do it," right? So basically, he gets in there and he starts messing with like some samples that he has from the Petrova line, and he finds out that there's these microorganisms called astrophage that are like these like little alien cells, which are really cool. Like if you're in this universe, then boom, your first alien, right? So that's really cool. Uh, even though microscopic level. So that's really cool. But then he's finding out, he's messing with it because he's in this secret scientific laboratory with like the different leaders. I wouldn't say leaders, kind of like military leaders of the world, and they're watching him with Ava Strat. And as he's discovering more and more things, because it takes him forever to find out like that they're microorganisms, or sorry, that they're cells, because he's trying everything, all these different scientific methods, and he finally figures it out. And then he like he's doing something, and I think he kills them, and they're just like, "What?" No, 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 sorry, no, 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 I'm correct. I think he kills them, but anyway, he starts discovering there we go. He starts discovering their body, and he's like, "Oh my god," like he's just, like, dissecting them, and he's able to figure out what they're made of. And then he looks at it, and he finds out that they're mostly made up of, water, like, hydrogen, I think. And then he's, like, really broken down because like, he's really excited to prove, like, his thing, and then it just got shot up in his face. He's just like, like what am I doing here, right? Like this is a joke. I was stupid for even thinking like I could like pull something like this off. Like, why are you pulling this random school teacher to do something that like where you need to save the world? Like this is stupid. And so Strat comes up to him and she's basically like, like thanks for your time, peace. And he's like, that's it, you're just leaving? And she's like, yeah, kind of said you were done, so like we're gone, right? And he's like, "Well, no, 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 don't leave, don't be too hasty. Don't leave just yet." And she's like, "Do you want to save the world? Yes or no?" And Ron Grace is like, "Yeah, I do." Like, what? And so she's like, "Okay, well, I left you 3, little astrophages, so work with that and get back to me." So he starts working, and there's this, security guard that's watching him. His name's Carl. That is the actor that I told you that is from The Bear, Lionel Boyce. Hilarious. He's very hilarious in this film. On it by himself and with Ryan Gosling. They're really funny. So he's basically just watching over Grace while he's in the laboratory, and basically Grace is messing around, seeing like, okay, why did they go to Venus? Because if you know anything about the solar system, it's the sun. Okay, it's the sun, and then we have Mercury, and then we have Venus, and then Earth, right? And he's like, why did they just go straight to Venus, right? Like, why did they just skip Mercury? You know? And then he discovers that they're going for a certain gas in the atmosphere, and he's like, "Okay, that's weird." So he kind of builds, like, his own box, kinda like a makeshift, box. Well, it's not really a makeshift, it is a box, but, you get what I mean, you get what I mean. And he kinda does like a form of that gas, and he puts the astrophage in there, and he wants to see if they'll actually go to that gas. He wants to prove that hypothesis, the Carl hypothesis, right? You watch the movie, you know. Anyway, basically, the hypothesis gets proven right. The astrophage goes after that, but then he's like, "Fuck, the astrophage are missing. Like, they're not in their little cage anymore. Where did they go?" Right? And so Carl's like, "Well, if they're still in the box, then like you Gucci, right? All you need to do is find them." And then Grace is like, "Okay, well, if I open the door, then they're like they're gone. Like they're just gonna escape because like they have like it's a huge hangar, and so like the doors are open, right? It's a huge hangar door. Like there's it was huge. Like you have no idea where they're gonna be. And so Carl's like, just put them in like another box and then like work in that box, and they do. And eventually they find them all, and then Grace finds out that there's a fourth one. He's like, huh? And so basically he figures out how to breed it. Basically that when the astrophage goes to that gas, wherever whatever planet it may be, they end up breeding. But when they move over there, they're kinda, like, propelling themselves, so it kinda makes, like a little fire. Basically, the reason they say this is because they use it for the fuel of the spaceship, right? They get them moving towards that gas, and it propels them, like, at this crazy light speed, too. Like, it has this crazy amount of power that, like, melts huge ass blocks of metal, which is pretty powerful shit. But basically, he makes a crazy breakthrough of figuring out how to multiply the astrophage on planet Earth, and he reports him and Carl report that to Strat, and they're like, "Get his ass over here now!" And so he ends up going on like a whatever fighter jet. That's pretty funny. He goes on a fighter jet. He ends up on this huge like warship, kind of like the helicarrier. I don't know what to call it. I just call it a warship. And basically, he ends up in this room of scientists, and Ava Strat's like, "Tell him everything that you just told me." And he kind of, he's kind of overwhelmed. He's kind of like, right? He basically tells them like what he did, and they're like, "Yeah, our scientists replicated that. He's telling the truth." And he's like, "Hmm." But anyway, then another scientist, she's like, "Okay, well, how are we able to? How much can we make of it?" She asks like this crazy amount. She's like, "How long is it gonna take for us to make like this amount?" And he's like, Why do you need that amount?" And she's like, "Well, nope, nope, nobody told bro." And Aberstrat's like, "Ron Grace, come here." She's like, "You now have all, you are now cleared, security cleared for Project Hail Mary." And he's like, "Hold on, time out. What the fuck is going on?" Basically, she explains the whole, mission, which is the astrophage is not just our solar system. It's every single solar system in the universe, dimming all the suns but one. But they don't, and nobody knows why. So they're gonna send a ship over that solar system, which is gonna take 11 something years, and they're gonna figure out why, and then they're gonna send back all their information, and they're not gonna have enough astrophage to bring people back. So it's basically a suicide mission, and what they're talking about. But you're doing it to save the humanity, so it's kind of just like right, like you're gonna be heroes. Because at the same time, like, you can't just wait for the astrophage to come and like fuck up your Earth. So you're kind of like running against the clock, right? But it's not like like doomsday clock in the sense that like, oh, it's need to be here like right this second. Like 20 to 30 years is when we're fucked, right? Like over time. But anyway, she gives them the information, and then we kind of cut back to Grace in space. He's kind of shaved his face, cut his hair and everything. He's kind of starting to remember things a little bit more. Um, and he finds out that he's about to enter into the solar system that they need to, the one that they just talked about. I think the solar system is called Tau Ceti. I don't know if that's the sun. We're just gonna say that's the solar system for the sake of the video. But basically, he ends up finding that he's like basically there, right? Like he's probably like on the outskirts of the solar system. Anyway, the ship's kind of like, hey, like somebody's over there, or they're like, patrol line's over there, go check it out. So he uses like a camera, telescope, whatever you want to call it. He notices like something like deep in the stars, like not like crazy deep that like he's not near it, but like deep enough to where you need like a camera to see it. And he's like, what is that? And then he ends up finding out it's a ship, like a really big ass ship. Nothing like Star Destroyer level from Star Wars, but it's still a pretty big ship, right? Basically, as he keeps moving forward, he ends up running into the ship, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Like as anybody would be like if you're just chilling out in space, and like, if you just woke up from space, finding out that you've been in there for like 11 years, and then you see this big ass ship, you'd be shitting your pants too. Anyway, the ship kind of like pulls up next to him, and it kind of like shoots out like this little like case, right? And the case, and Ryland Grace is like, "Oh, is he trying to talk to me?" And then he's like, "Oh wait, shit, that's a bomb, right?" So anyway, he kind of hides away and kind of like doinks off the ship, and then he sends it again, and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll go catch it." So he ends up catching it, and he opens it up. Like he goes out into space and he catches it. He comes back, he opens it up, and it's like this really weird box. It's kind of like, obviously, it's xenonite metal, like, they tell you that in the movie, but to describe it, like, it's kinda like have you ever seen those, like, melted plastic things where you kinda, like, you draw with the pen? That's kinda what it looks like, but just think, like, melted, like, metal that you can kinda draw with. That's the way to visualize it. But anyway, he opens up the case, and it's, like, this little Petrova line statue and this little creature statue, and Grace is kinda like, what? Oh, no, no, sorry. It's Petrovaline thing, and then I guess it's like a really big see. I couldn't tell if it was like a solar system or I think it's a universe. I'll just say it's a universe. I think it's like a universe map, and basically, who it's Rocky who's in the spaceship. Spoiler. I mean, I guess we're in spoiler section. Doesn't matter. But Rocky's kind of saying like, "Hey, this is my solar system, my slash planet. I don't know, one of the two. I think it's planet. I think it's planet. I don't know. But I'm just gonna say solar system." And then Grace sends it back saying like, "Hey, this is because on there's Earth or the Milky Way." And he's like, "This is where I'm from." So he sends it back, and then Rocky's spaceship ends up like sending this huge tube that connects to the Grace's ship, and they end up, connecting ships. And he gets the spacesuit on, and he walks over there, and he's like walking through, and there's this huge wall. It's like mostly the same metal, and there's this like little tiny hole of glass. So he like knocks on it, and then like this alien appears, or like you could barely see the alien, but like Rocky's right there, and he's kind of like, what the shit? Basically, Rocky tells him to go back into his ship, and he goes back, and then he comes back, and then it's kind of like you can see through it more now. It's glass. There's not as much rock, right? Like out for the wall. They get some more talking, and basically, Rocky's kind of like, hey, he gives him another gift, and he basically Grace figures out that it's 2 rings of 8, which is oxygen, and he's like, "Oh, he wants me to take off my mask," and he's kind of like, "Do I do this?" Like, if I don't do it, I die. He ends up doing it. He takes off his mask, and he's able to breathe. In this room that Rocky made for him. So they start talking, and obviously they don't understand each other. They don't speak the same language, but they keep talking, and eventually Race gets his computer, and he like makes I don't it's some software where he records everything that Rocky says, and he like types it out in English. So he's like say one, like the number one, and Rocky's like "Du-du-du-du," like he speaks in his alien language, and then the computer will take what he's saying, like obviously with the microphone, and he like types it out in English. So he's kind of getting that that language barrier, broken. And the way he starts it off is, like numbers. Because, obviously he doesn't know like the word one, but he knows what one is. Like, because math is like a universal language. Most, like, that kind of makes sense. Like, if you kind of take a second to think about it, like, counting is kind of something that would work like throughout the universe. Maybe not the exact same numbers, but the idea of counting. And the way he figures out how to convey this to Rocky is, before the computer, is he figures out that Rocky is an echolocation creature because he doesn't have a face, he can't see. So he's like, oh, this guy works off of echolocation. But if something's like flat, he can't read it. So what he does is he gets a clock and he puts tape over the numbers. So it's kind of like a raised version of the number. And so he can read the numbers. And so that's kind of where it starts. And it moves over to the computer. And then he finds out that Rocky is a scientist too, more of like a mechanic or like an engineer, but he's still a scientist nonetheless. And that on his ship, they're from the planet Irid. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Uh, I forget what Rocky's creature like species is called, but they're basically just like rock creatures. Anyway, like I said, they're suffering from the same issue. They have astrophage at their planet, and Rocky was sent to Talseti also to figure out the issue. And so they're like, "Oh, okay, like why don't we work together?" So they're working together, and then they start to have like emotional beat like heart emotional moments. And one of those moments is Grace is asking him. He's like, "Hey, is there anybody like on your ship? Or are you like the only one?" And Rocky's kind of like, no, everybody else died. And he's like, it's kind of like a symbolism for Grace. Like you see that multiple times throughout the film. Anyway, Grace is kind of like, yeah, the same thing happened to me. And so they kind of, grow that bond. And the same thing kind of happens when Grace is like, hey, peace, I'm going to bed. See you tomorrow. And then Rocky's like, why? Like you're supposed to stay here. Rocky's like, what are you talking about? And Grace, Rocky's like, well, like my species, when we sleep, we watch each other in case you don't wake up and and there's prey or some type of danger, and Grace like, okay, I guess I'll sleep here. Anyway, the friendship starts blooming, and then Grace gives Rocky like a computer voice, so that way he doesn't have to go over and read every time. And they really start working on their discovery of like going towards the mission, right? Of like what the fuck's going on, right? And then we get another flashback. We kind of go back to Grace working on Project Hail Mary again. He kind of meets the scientists. There's multiple scientists, but there's two main ones, which we kind of addressed earlier, which is Ken Leung, and then who plays Yao Li, and then we meet Milana Vayentrump, who's playing Eliesa Iliukinen, or Iliukina. I butchered both of those. Very sorry. But yeah, basically, there's other scientists, and Strat is basically saying that on this mission there are going to be three scientists. There's going to be a pilot, there is going to be an engineer, and there's going to be a scientist. There's actually another scientist by the name of Martin Dubois, played by Malachi Kirby, but as we'll say later, something happens where he's no longer going to be on the mission, and that's where we kind of end up with Ryland Grace there. But anyway, we kind of get that flashback, and we come back to Rocky and Grace working on the mission again. So that's awesome. But while they're doing that, obviously their friendship is growing more. They start to understand, like where, what's going on between the two. Um, there's that. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So when they're back in space, when we come back to space, like I said, Rocky and Grace, they're just hanging out, and they have this really nice moment where they're in this like room, which kind of has like computer screens all around it, and it's kind of like showing videos of Earth, and Grace kind of introducing Rocky to Earth. And I didn't address this real quick, so I guess I'll address it right now. Rocky basically like moves into Grace's ship, and you might be like, well, how does he do that? There's like that whole wall. So basically, Grace breathes in human because he's human, breathes in oxygen, and then Rocky, I don't know the exact element that they said. I think it's like argon or something. I don't know. He brings in another oxygen that is harmful to Grace, and so like that's why there was that wall when they first met. But then Rocky, when he moves in, he's like in this small ball. You've probably seen on like merchandise and all that other stuff. So that's that. But basically, he moves on the ship, and when they're in the ship, like Grace is introducing Rocky to Earth with all these different videos and everything. And when they're sitting there, they have a really nice heart to heart moment about like love life, and that's where Rocky tells Grace, he's like, "Yeah, I have like a mate back home. We've been together like 189 something years." And he's like, "Do you have anybody, Grace?" And Grace is like, "No, like I used to, but then she kind of left me. She kind of said my head was in the clouds. I wasn't really focused on life." And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of was." But anyway, going from that, we go to a flashback where Grace, everybody in the Project Hail Mary crew is hanging out on the warship, having like a little bit of a party. We're getting close to that deadline. We're all celebrating, cheering. And Grace notices like a lot of them start like linking up. You're gonna be on that ship for a while. You gotta relieve the stress somehow. But anyway, he kind of like leaves the party real quick, and he goes and finds Evan Strat like kind of like on the top of the ship. He starts talking to me like, "Yo, is this kind of crazy? Everybody linking up?" And she's like, "Not really." He and Grace kind of like, "I don't really understand how all these people are, like partying, like when at the end of what we're working towards is basically suicide. Like he doesn't get it." And Strat is like, they're just living it a little bit. And he's like, like, how do you live? It doesn't really seem like you do. And she's like, well, I used to. And then anyway, we kind of just cut back to, Grace at the party. I guess he comes back down, and he's watching everybody. And then Strat comes in, and she starts singing "A Sign of the Time" by Harry Styles, and it's a really great scene. Like I really love the scene. Anyway, and as she's singing it, because she told Grace, she's like, "Yeah, I used to be a singer, like a choir singer when I was younger." And then like we kind of get that glimpse into her life when she's singing now. And then after a while, she stops. She's kind of like, "Hey, that's it, everybody. Peace out. I'm gonna go back to work." But everybody was like, like, "Wow." Anyway, but her and Grace kind of share a smile. Everybody's kind of like, "Oh," watching the film. Anyway, after that, we cut back to Grace and Rocky. And Grace and Rocky, they're about to perform this experiment where, because they just arrived, they're like, okay, let's go to the planet, like the closest planet that doesn't have, or where the astrophage is at, and let's try to grab it. Let's try to grab some, right? Let's try to figure out what the hell's going on out here. So they end up going on this experiment. Basically, they get really close to the planet, kind of in front of the line of all where the astrophage is moving. And Grace is collecting it outside, and there's this really nice scene where he's staring at that planet that I was talking about earlier. They end up naming it Adrian, and that's what Grace ends up calling Rocky's mate is Adrian. So together they name the planet Adrian. I think it's called Tau Ceti E. It's a scientific name. They end up calling it Adrian, and they're grabbing all the astrophage. And when they get back in, Grace is looking at it, and it's like, okay, like this is weird, right? Like he's looking at like sample A, and he's looking at sample B. He's like, there should be more here, because remember when they're looking for that special gas, they multiply, and he's like, there's no multiplication happening here, and they're like, what? And then they're like look deeper, and they're like, oh, there's this microorganism here. And then, like, Rocky freaks the hell out. He's like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, it's because of the microorganism." And Grace's like, "Yo, what are you talking about?" And Rocky's like, "No, no, no. Because the microorganism's there, it's acting as a predator on the astrophage, stopping it from breeding and moving any further." And then both of their minds are just like it's blown. They're like, "We just figured it out, right?" Like, "Oh my god, like we're gonna save our planets." And after they do that, they kind of start talking like what they're gonna do when they get back home. And um, like for up until this point, Grace kind of hasn't told Rocky that he's not going home. Remember, like it's a suicide mission. Like they only gave him enough fuel to get there. But Rocky starts talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, I have all this fuel." And like that's why the scene at Adrian, to me, is like super important because all this flashback, Grace is regaining his memory, right? And obviously, you're when you watch the movie, you get the flashback in chunks. Now, at the beginning of the film, I think like the chunks are kind of like when Grace remembers that, right? But once we get up to that planet, I think that's where or, like, right before, whatever we wanna get into the semantics of it for seconds, but right when we get there, I think that's where Grace remembers everything. Obviously, we'll get when we talk about everything else, because there are more flashbacks, but the ones that happen later, like with Grace and, like, him being forced onto the mission, I think those all take place beforehand, but it's just, like, in the sense that, like, it's a movie, we don't wanna, like, bog you down with, like, 100, minutes of flashbacks within 1 second. I think they cut it up for that, but I think, at least in my opinion, that all the stuff that happens after Adrian, Grace is in front of Adrian, like, he remembers it beforehand, and that's when he kinda just, like, takes it in, like, "Yeah, I'm gonna die," right? But also at the same time, like, this kinda getting into this, themes and stories and all that, I think he kinda comes at peace, right? But anyway, he's talking to Rocky. And Rocky and then him are both getting excited about going home, and Grace kinda lets it slip. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going home, Rock." And Rocky's like, like, "Why?" And Grace's like, "Well, I only have enough fuel to get me, like, here." He's like, "I would probably have enough food to, like, let me last." But he's like, I'm not going home, right? Like, I came out here, I'm doing my mission, and, to me, that's enough, right? Like, I'm all Gucci sauce. And, he's like, "But, like, I'll send you," like, we'll figure out we'll split the microorganism and we'll send them back to our planets, but I'm gonna stay here. And Rocky's like, no, because they're friends. Like they've been friends for like a good chunk of the movie. And Rocky's like, no, like I'm gonna say like I have extra fuel. I'm gonna give you the fuel, and we're both going home. In this next scene is like such a heartbreaking scene. Right? Like I said, this movie has really good comedy, but it has like really good drama too. Like this next scene, like Grace is facing away from Rocky. He's in the dark. He turns back into the light a little bit, and he's crying. Like Ryan Gosling, amazing scene, amazing. Um, and then like Grace, like Rocky's like, "Oh, I thought you made peace with it," and Grace like, "No, like that's just something people say, right? Like I didn't actually make peace with it." And it's such a beautiful scene. Like he hugs like Rocky, I think for the first time in the film, and like I don't know, it's such a beautiful scene. And so basically, they both decide like how this next mission is going to work, how they're going to get this microorganism. And basically, what they decide is that because if they get too close to the planet, they'll just basically just evaporate from existence. Because if you get too close to the planet, the gravity pulls you in, and if it's like a huge ass planet, like a gas giant, due to how much bigger it is, compared to something like Earth, the pressure is like 100 to like 100,000 times like greater, so it crushes you like a can, like within milliseconds, right? And so they're like, okay, we can't get too close, but we still need to get close enough to grab the microorganism. How are we going to do that? And Grace comes up with the idea of fishing, like we're going to fish for it. And so what they come up with is Rocky, because Rocky has like these like weird like melted things. Like I said, most of it is like melted xenonite, because he's like a mechanic. I don't know exactly what it is. It looks like welding. But basically, he kind of like makes these like this huge ass like chain link, and he puts like this organ as like this ball at the end of it that will like open up, grab all the microorganisms, and then they'll just bring it back up. And the way that they're gonna do it is they're gonna fly right above where they need to be, and they're kind of like let it like grab all what they need, and they're gonna bring it back it up. Grace is gonna go outside, grab it, and they're all set. The mission's going to plan. Like they send it down, it's collecting all that they need, and then because Rocky's watching from inside the ship, and they pull it up, and Grace goes outside. He goes to grab it, but it kind of all goes bad when the ship kind of like the gravity starts pulling in the ship a little bit, and because of how like strong the gravity is, it kind of like starts ripping apart the ship, and it pulls this huge ass box like just from the side of the ship, and it like basically knocks Grace the fuck out and ends up like dropping the box of microorganisms like off to the side of the ship. And because Grace is in the middle of space, he's like tethered like on this huge like line across the spaceship, and that box ends up getting stuck on the line, and so it's kind of like pulling down the ball of microorganisms. And so anyway, Grace, like, he wakes up, just in the nick of time, and he goes and grabs it, but he has to cut the line, or else, the line is gonna pull him down because the box is like about to fall off the ship too. And the gravity's like super strong. So, we got a lot going on. He ends up, cutting it off. He ends up getting back inside. But when they get inside, he puts the thing off to the side. The gravity's super strong, so Grace is, trying to, fix everything. Gets in the cockpit again with Rocky. He starts like pushing it out, and then they notice something's up with the fuel line, and there's like an opening. And Rocky's like, "Hey, you can't go crazy here. If you keep going, we're gonna blow this shit up. We're not gonna be able to save our planets." And Grace is like, "No, no, no. I just need enough to get us out of the reach. That way, we're safe. Like, just trust me." So they're going, they're going, and they just get where they need to be, and then boom, their fuel line starts like pushing out the astrophage because, like, remember, their astrophage is their fuel. And the asteroids are running to the planet because remember this planet has the gas that they're looking for, so they're spinning out of control. They're going crazy, and basically like they're being knocked against like the side of their ship, because crazy like gravity going on right here. And finally, Grace is like reaching over. He's like trying to like push the button that he needs to, and then he ejects one of the gas thing, or like one of the fuels, and then he's like still struggling. And he ejects the other one, and then he there's this thing on the ship. Um, I think it's called centrifuge. I think that's what it's called. Don't get me wrong. Basically, it's like this extension of the ship that'll come out and it'll come out and it'll move and it'll like keep the ship in orbit. Like it'll make artificial gravity, which is really cool. Um, but he can't get to that because that's the last thing. But he's still like moving around the ship, and he like gets knocked into the front of the ship and he like passes out. And like this is what they need to save them because they're still like spinning out of control. And if they keep spinning out of control, they're gonna fly down in the atmosphere and crush into non-existence, right? Well, see, I say that in the non-existence, but that's not really what I mean. They're gonna be crushed and just be like fucking disintegrated, right? Non-existence is not really like a thing in science. Well, I mean, I guess it is, but not really in this sense because this is like you're just crushed and being like nothing, like nothing. Like you get what I mean. Non-existence is not exactly what I mean, but basically what I mean. Anyway, Rocky decides to get out of his ball. He puts on the centrifuge and then he grabs Grace. But mind you, again, I said Rocky cannot be in an oxygen rich atmosphere, so he's like burning up trying to save Grace. So he ends up saving Grace, puts him like on a med bed, and he's just burned up, like kind of like off to the side. And Grace wakes up, so we get a flashback again. And it's this huge like Grace is talking with Strat, outside, in this field that's like near the near some huge lab. And all they're like, what are you gonna do? Like if the mission's all good. And she's like, I don't really know. Grace is like, oh, same. Like their friendship's growing, right? And then boom, this huge explosion goes off in the background. They get like thrown back, and everybody's like, what the fuck's going on? And basically, what we find out is that the laboratory that they're working with blew up, and some of those scientists that we were talking about, especially, give me a second, Martin Dubois, he gets blown up because remember he's supposed to be the scientist that Grace has with him, or that is in the big three, right? Um, and then you're like, because it's like him, and then the backup scientists, I think, they all get blown up, and everybody's like, "What?" Cause like it was like a big ass explosion, and so they start talking obviously afterwards when they investigate it, and like how this happen. And the person that's giving them the astrophage gave them the wrong amount, and so obviously, like, as I said, like even like this much like blew like destroyed like a whole like fucking huge ass block of metal. So like if you got like this much, it could fucking disintegrate you, right? Anyway, so they're in this meeting. It's Strat, the other two scientists, Grace, Carl, a few other scientists, and they're like, if we don't go by the deadline, then we're fucked, right? We're gonna be the deadline. We're gonna be so far behind. We're gonna be so behind schedule that we don't even know, like, because we're already like pulling our fucking strings, trying to get this done now, and we gotta pull it back even farther than like, yeah. There's really, really no chance that we're gonna get this done. And so they're like, we need somebody now, and we need a we need scientists now, and we need somebody that already is ready. And Grace is like, where are you gonna find bro? Right? Like, where are you gonna get this magical specimen? And everybody's kind of looking at him like, and Grace is like, no, right? He's like, I'm not a science. He's like, I'm not an astronaut. Like, I can't do that. He's like, I'm not gonna go kill myself. And Strat brings up a good point. She's like, "So you'd rather just sit here and die with us for 30 years, over the next 30 years?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm not doing this." He's like, I'm not going up there." And they're trying to convince him, and they can't convince him. And Strat's like, "Okay, well, you got 3 days. You better figure that shit out." And so like they basically just get upset because like they're basically at that point in time they're about to take off, right? So they need Grace. They need that last person. They need that scientist. Um, so we go back to Rocky and Grace. Grace wakes up in the med bay and he finds out Rocky is kind of just like sitting off to the side, still burning up. So he ends up putting Rocky back in his box or his ball. He's letting him rest and he's kind of telling him, he's like, "Hey, well, I'm gonna sit here and watch you sleep." Because like I said, Rocky's people they watch each other sleep, and so Grace kind of sharing the same sentiment. He's like, "But you need to wake up. None of this, like you dying on me stuff." So anyway, as he's watching Rocky, he's also working on the experiment, and he's able to actually prove that the microorganism, stops the astrophage. And he's like, "Yes, yes, we figured it out." And then he's like, "Okay, well then, how are we going to replicate this back in his solar system?" Because he finds out that they don't work well with nitrogen. So he ends up working that around, and he's like, "Okay, we're 100%. We're all set. We got this." And throughout this whole movie, he's like recording these videos, kind of like in Star Trek, Captain Kirk does. Because all these videos he's making gets him back to Earth, right? Anyway, in one of the videos, he's kind of like, "Hey, Rocky, I want to say Rocky's like passed out in a coma. He's like, "Hey, I figured out everything. All I need is you to wake up. That way, I can send you your fuel, and we both go home, right?" Rocky ends up finally waking up, and him and Grace, happy to meet each other again, and they move on. And he's like, "Hey, let me show you what I got. Let me show you what I got." And so they're celebrating, and Grace get like celebrating in that room again with the what's it called? Like the room with all the not cameras, the TVs, the screens. Grace showed Rocky like what Earth is. So they're celebrating in there, which is really awesome. It's a really cool scene. Grace gives him like a computer that gives like all the knowledge on Earth and humans and all that, and then he gives him this like little bean bag of Earth that Grace used earlier in the film with the students, and he's like, "Here, you can remember this one by me." And then it's a really sad scene, and Rocky's like, "Oh, like Grace, I didn't get you a gift." And Rocky's like, "No, it's okay, it's okay." And Rocky's like, "Well, like, what if I had to give you something? What could I do?" And Grace is like, "I would like to see the inside of your shit." And like, like if you were Grace, think you would want that too. Like everybody would be like, "Yeah, right." Like who could say they've been inside of an alien ship, right? So he goes in there, he sees it, he's like, "Wow, this is amazing." And then they say goodbye. And like that's a really sad scene. Like they both don't want to say goodbye to each other, but like Rocky gave him the fuel. He's ready to go back. They both figured out their solutions, and like we're all set. And they just don't want to say goodbye. They finally do, but Rocky says and Grace is like, "How do you say goodbye in your language?" And Rocky's like, "Oh, we don't." And he like kind of like rubs up his hands on like his arm, and so Grace is like kind of doing this. It's kind of like goodbye, but not really goodbye type of thing. So they go their own ways. And Grace is so excited to go back. He gets back in his little bed because it's gonna be even quicker than like this last time, so he doesn't need to go in like cryo sleep or anything. Um, but basically, as he's going to sleep, we get another flashback where Grace walks up into Strat's office. I guess it's been like that 3 days or whatever, and Grace is like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna let you know, like, I'm still not going on the mission. I cannot sacrifice myself. Like I literally just cannot, right? Like I can't. Like I can't comprehend sacrificing my life to go on there." And Strat's like, "Okay, I understand that, but you know, I'm still gonna send you on there." And Grace is like, "What?" She's like, "I hope this doesn't ruin our friendship, but I I'm gonna have to do what I'm gonna have to do to save the world, save humanity." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And these scientists come in and the security guards come in, and she's like, "Grace, don't make a big scene, but just do what they're saying, right? Like just stand by it, right?" She's like, "Just please make this as simple as possible." He starts fighting, and like Strat's really sad. She's like you could tell, it's she's ruining her friendship just to save humanity, and it's so sad, right? Oh my god, Sandra Healy does like amazing job here, amazing job. But anyway, so she basically she knocks him out, she sends him in a coma, and he replaces the other scientist that passed away. And there we go, we got our three people. And so she sends him into space, and like I don't know, it's something about the scene of Ryan Gosling, like Ryland's Grace cowardice, that you can relate to, and it's so sad. I don't know if it's a mixture of like him not wanting to go, and like most of the time you look at Ryan Gosling characters, and they're like these very like amazing like dude characters where you're like they don't do any wrong, but here it feels so, like, authentic, right? Like, you're not looking at a superhero or a character from Blade Runner 20 I think it was, what, 2099 or 2049? I don't know. Where, like, they do everything right and they have, like, 1 or 2 flaws. Like, here, like, this is such a genuine human flaw. Like, he has exactly what he needs to do, but he just doesn't wanna, like, make that sacrifice, right? Like, so many people have done that. Like, they have the resources to do what they need to do, but, like, there's just something that stops them. And the fact that that choice gets taken away from him, like, you're you really feel that. But, anyway, he wakes up and there's an alarm going off. It's like beep beep beep. It's the ship, and they're like contamination. Like something broke out. And Grace's like, whoa, whoa, what? And so he goes and checks up on the specimens, and he finds out that the microorganism, which I think at this time it has been named, I think it was called Talamoeba. So like based off the solar system and the word amoeba, Talamoeba. He finds out because he put the Talamoeba in like these cases that Rocky made before the whole thing happened, but he finds out that because he like Rocky made those originally with the organisms that, or I guess with the ash, I don't know. He basically finds out that because they were made beforehand, they evolved to where they're able to get through xenonite. If they're able to do it on his ship like that, then they're gonna run through fucking Rocky ship because his whole ship is xenonite, and you're just like, because, they've both been going their own ways for like a minute now, and you just like, so basically Grace figures out how to, contain it, and he's like, "Okay, I either gotta go save Rocky or I'm going home," right? He's like, "I don't have enough fuel for both." So Grace picks himself up by the bootstraps. He sends the, samples, the videos, you name it, everything, and these probes that go back to Earth, which really, really coolly are like there's 4 probes. They're all named after the Beatles, which is really cool. Really cool detail. And he books it straight to Rocky. Like he didn't even take a second to think about it. He's like, you know what? No, I'm saving Rocky. And he ends up getting over there, and he gets into that tube, and he's like knocking on the door, right? And obviously in space, like no one can hear you. But anyway, finally Rocky Rocky kind of like floats over, and like they're both like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And then we cut to Earth real quick with she's on a ship. She's like really old because like I guess by then it would be like 20 years by the time that the mission had taken place and when she receives the probes. And basically she's watching the videos of him and Rocky, Grace and Rocky, and she's smiling. And obviously Earth is like really like Snowpiercer looking, but they're starting to fix it now that they got the sample. So like things are looking up for Earth. But anyway, end of the movie comes and we're now in Irid. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Do not remember. And you see Grace, like waking up in a house, and he's talking to the robot that he had in the ship, and you hear some knocking. Like there's some crazy, vicious ass knocking going down. And Grace's like, "I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in a minute." And the knocking gets even more crazy. He's like, "I'll be there in a minute, damn it!" And then he finally gets out there, and he sees Rocky just chilling out in a little suit, and you're like, "What? Like what? Like where are we?" Like you see these crazy ass, like beautiful rocks in the back, ocean, beach, we're on a beachfront, and obviously we find out that like Grace is in this enclosure, and to me, the way I perceived it is that you know like it's a part of Irid, but like the the Rocky and his other fellow scientists, they like kind of use that same technology they used on Rocky to like keep him contained in his atmosphere. They did the same thing, and they just put like more oxygen stuff like that for Grace to live in there. So at least to me, like he's on Irid, right? Anyway, they're like walking, and Rocky's basically telling him, he's like, hey, the scientists they figured out how to, they basically got everything ready for you to go back to Earth. Like project, like the Hail Mary ship is ready. And Grace is like, is it okay if I get some time to think about it? And Rocky's like, yeah, like you can take as long as you need, right? And basically after that, Grace, picks up some sand, and he's like looking out into the ocean. And he turns around. He's like, all right, class, who can tell me the speed of light? And mind you, it's the same question he asked the class earlier. As he turns around, you see all these like different rock like kids from Rocky's you know s- creature basically different same civilization or species. That's the word I was looking for. Species. They're all like, oh, like I know. And basically that's what the movie is. He's a teacher for the Rocky's species. There we go. And that's the whole movie. That's the whole synopsis of the movie. Now, I'll probably miss some things. Probably address it later when I get into the storyline. But yeah, basically, that whole chunk was me. That's basically the movie, the cut and dry of the movie. And so it's a really good film. It's a really really good film. I like I say this in the spoiler free section, but it does a really good job of being like a comedy movie and a drama movie. And like obviously it's not a comedy, it's not a dramedy, it's a sci-fi. But the way it does both is really well done. Cause like I said, this could really easily have been like end of the world, like fuck it all, like we're gonna apocalypse it, right? Like that's not what this does. Um, and real quick, I have not read Project Hail Mary the book, so like whatever I say about this movie is not about the book. It's about the movie, and that goes for basically any time I'm addressing a movie or like a show or anything like that. Like, yes, it may be based off of something, but what I'm reviewing is the movie or the show. Like, I'm reviewing that. Like when I did my Wuthering Heights review on Letterboxd, I didn't review the movie and this book. I reviewed the movie. Like obviously, people are gonna be upset that like this thing didn't get adapted, or like these characters are different. Like yeah, you're gonna be upset because this is a book and then this is a movie, right? And they're not gonna be 100% the same. Obviously it could be, but it's not going to be. You got to save time, you got to save budget, stuff like that. And at the same time, maybe some people don't want to, want 100% comparison. They want to take their own artistic spin on it. So it's whatever. So I wanted to get that out of the way now, in case like somebody's like, Josh, but like that's not what the movie, like that's not what the book is like. Well, again, I've not read the book, and I'm not reviewing the book. I'm just reviewing the movie. So anyway, but yeah, no, this movie does a great job of being like a sci-fi film, but not a sci-fi film because, like I said, it could have really gotten into that apocalyptic type deal. but it doesn't. It goes its own way. It's like a very heartfelt story. It's focused on Rocky and Grace's friendship. It's focused on Grace is kind of like a kind of a tragedy that ends in a good way, right? And I'll start getting into that now that we're talking about like themes and like plot or metaphors and stuff like that. Oh, wrong thing. And to me, like this is where the movie like really makes it for or this the production. This is where it really makes it for me. Cause like to me, the theme that I picked out in the movie was life. And I know you're like, okay, Josh, like that's not that hard of a movie to pick out. Or sorry, that's not that hard of a theme to pick out. True, it is a very simple theme, but it's so detailed. So like boop, like crack our fingers, buckle our seatbelts. But yeah, no. So the way I see it is, this movie talks about life in two ways: you're living and you're living. And I know you're like, okay, that's the same thing. The way you have to think about it is like this: there is physically living, like you're physically alive, eating, breathing, stuff like that. And then there's living, like you experiencing something, you're experiencing love, loss, sadness, all of that. But there's levels to it. Like there's life out there, yes, but on so many different levels, especially in this movie. We get to see so many different levels. We get to see microorganisms, we get to see rocky humans. And as we go through those levels, they're all gradually different, but they do share some things. Like life itself is made and it dies, right? And in life, everybody has nature that they follow. But as we get into these upper levels, we kind of go away from nature. So let me kind of break it down. So astrophage, or the tau amoeba, smallest form of life that we see in the film, and it doesn't do what it wants, right? It follows its nature. Like it kind of just like it's kind of like a predetermined action that it does. Like it like the astrophage. It goes towards that gas, reproduces, and then it moves on, right? Or it stays there, whatever it's doing. Like it doesn't have a mind. It doesn't really have a mind of its own. It's moving off of nature. Like, I keep wanting to say human nature, but it's not like it's going off of, like, just nature, but it's alive, right? Yes, it's physically alive, and, like, it's living by doing what it thinks it's supposed to be doing, or what it should be doing, right? It doesn't know what it's doing is right, it doesn't know what it's doing is wrong or hurt anything, it's just actively living. And then we get to the next kind of like step of life that we see, which is Rocky. And I think I just figured out what they're called. Eldians or Elridians. I think that's what they're called. Elridians. And so this, like, obviously they're very intellectual beings, and they were born. They die too, just like the astrophage, but they have intelligence. They can make decisions, right? But they also feel emotions. Like Rocky's able to feel love with his partner and with Grace. Like he's able to form that friendship, or he's able to get sad when Grace says he's not going home, which is something that Astrophage can't do. So we're seeing this next level being built. But see, there's a difference between Elridians and humans, at least for the sake of the argument. Like I don't, know Elridian biology, but just for the sake of the argument, like not Grace, Rocky moves on what he thinks is right, right? He uses intellect and heart, like good nature. He uses that type of nature to operate. But we move over to humans, like Grace. They have normal nature, right? Like they hunt, gather, stuff like that. They're born, they die, they have emotions. They get happy, they get sad, stuff like that. But they also have the next part, which is kind of like that metaphysical thinking, you know? Like humans, they have philosophy, ethics, stuff like that. And that kind of like forms how they think, right? And stuff that we see in this movie is that a lot of the humans, they're being conditioned by what's happening around them. They're not really thinking by their nature, like by, oh, this makes me sad or this makes me happy. They're kind of having their hand forced on them into doing like maybe the morally right thing or a selfish action, kind of like how we see with Strat and Grace, right? Like they're not working on what their nature tells them because they're kind of blind to that. Because at least from what I've taken from this movie and what I've seen in my own life is that humans they don't really want to work on their nature. They get so distracted with everything else going on in life that they're not living. They're so focused on they're so focused on trying to live that they don't see that the life that's right in front of them. Like, they're working towards that living, even though they're physically living, right? They're not, like, literally living, they're, like, physically living, but they're not, like, actually doing that action of living, right? And that's kinda what we get into later, like, when Grace is, like, talking to Strat on the ship, and they're like, how can they, like, be this happy? Like, how can they be celebrating and hooking up and singing when they know they're about to go die? And that's kinda like what I'm getting at, like, those people are living, right? Grace isn't. He's focused on the work. Like he's working towards an end he's working towards an end to stop death. He's working towards an end to give himself life when he already has a life. Like those astronauts, like there's a really good scene in the movie when Grace first meets the astronauts, especially the pilot, Yao Lige, where he's like, Grace is like, I gotta give you kudos, like to me, I couldn't have gone up there on that ship, like that's a very brave thing that you're doing. Like, sorry, he's like, I couldn't have sacrificed myself like that. And the captain's like, or the pilot's like, well, it's not really like a me sacrificing myself thing. He's like, it's a more of a I'm sacrificing myself for somebody else. He's like, and that's kind of what you got to think about. Like you're not being selfish, you're being selfless. And that's kind of like that metaphysical thinking that where I'm talking about. But like, I think that sense is kind of connected to your good nature. Like, once you take away all the things that are clouding you and you get back to that nature, then you're able to be just like Rocky, right? You're able to walk on that line. And that's kind of a crux of being a human. That like, yes, we're extremely intelligent, but since we're so high up on this mountain, we kind of get clouded by all the other things that are up there that we forget what our roots are. We forget what helped us get there, right? And I like and that's what really gets us to the point of where we get selfish, we get so caught up with everything, kinda like with Strat, right? She wants to have she's a good-natured person. She's obviously, put up against the wall, trying to save humanity. She has to make those tough choices, like, when she tells Grace, like, "I gotta send you up there," like, obviously, she's struggling because that's her friend. It's one of her few friends that she has now. But she has to ruin that just to save humanity, and it's a deep thing. It's a very deep thing, and, like, when you look at it in the movie, you're like, "Wow." And that's why I think that scene where Grace is standing in front of Adrian is kind of the middle point in the film. Although, after the fact, we get that flashback, I think he realizes it beforehand. I think in that scene, because he's, like, kinda, like, floating and this is my favorite scene, which I'll get into like, later. He's sitting there, and he's letting the astrophage pass him by, like, literally letting life pass him by, if you wanna take it that way. And he's kinda just floating, suspended in space. He's literally, floating okay. That's not the word I was looking for. He's literally just, like, weightless, like, everything is lifted off of him, like, all this pressure, and he's, like, staring at the green planet, which, if you know anything about colors in literature, they all mean something, and for what I've learned, green means life, right? He's literally looking life in the face, and all the pressure, all the struggles that he's had, like trying to figure out who he is, like coping with the fact that he's gonna die, it all just comes off of him. And to me, like he's looking at life in the most primal way in front of him, at a planet in space. And to me, it's just like everything that he was focused on is so minute in grand comparison to what we're staring at. And I think it's really funny that it takes going out to space, the absolute void of the cosmos, to realize that what the small little issue that we had on Earth is it's so meaningless, and I think that's why Grace kind of comes to terms with it. Like obviously he when he like Rocky tells him he can go home, he's happy, right? Anybody would be. But in that scene, he comes to terms with everything. Like what he's doing, he's like I'm doing it for the betterment of society, right? I'm doing it for humanity, even though I don't want to die. What I'm doing is good natured, so I'm gonna keep doing it, right? Like he gets en route back. He finally comes to terms again with like the good nature that humans have. So that scene is amazing to me, and I think that's another thing that we need to address. That on Earth, it's so easy to get caught up in all those like things that are going on. Like we're so stuck in this like small planet that we get into those systems that we just like we can't get out of. And like yes, space is such an open void that there's literally nothing there, but it gives you that like openness to like look back and just be like, and, like I'm free, right? There's that juxtaposition in the movie that's just really nice. That there's so much to say here that like when I'm trying to say it, like it sounds like I don't know what I'm saying, but like I do. Okay, like, look at the poster. Look at the poster. This scene is like a scene from I wouldn't say it's the exact scene, but basically a scene from the movie where Grace is like looking at the space and looking out in space from inside the Hail Mary. But in the Hail Mary, like from the outside, he's stuck inside like the little hole. But when he's out, like he's out, he's free, he's in this openness. And although space does feel very lonely, it kind of like brings you back to the roots of life, right? Like I was talking that like life has these pillars, like life, death, nature. There's life everywhere. And that's the thing. That's the exact thing that I want to bring home is that the whole reason that hold on, another pillar real quick before I forget is um and this goes for like Rocky and humans. I just forgot to address it. Is that the inclination to know? Like we move in order to know, and that's that Achilles heel for humans. That's why we have the metaphysical thinking. That once like we kind of start knowing things and we interact with it and it affects us in that negative way or in a positive way, that's how we start thinking. That's why we're not really focusing on our nature anymore. We have these, interactions that kind of like morph us and mold us into like who we are. And so, that's what I was getting at. Like, that's what I forgot. Like that pursuit of knowledge. And it's funny that the whole reason that we go into space as humans is the pursuit of knowledge. Like what's out there in the cosmos, right? It's life. Life is out there. Like, whether or not you don't believe in aliens, like a planet itself is life. It's what is it called? Gas, solid, liquid, like, it's quite literally life, like, Grace is like, "H2O does not need to exist." Yes, it does. H2O is a massive part of life on the most micro and macro scale, and that's why when I think he's staring at that planet, it's so amazing, right? And then just the pursuit of knowledge is just like it's so amazing how the theme of it and like the idea that pursuit of space is all like wrapped in together. It's just awesome. It's very beautiful and awesome. I don't know. I really like it. I really like it. And there's something else I was trying to say real quick before I forget and move on to the next theme. But like it had to do something with the pursuit of like the pursuit of truth and oh, I think it had something to do with like oh yeah, okay, yes. I remember. So like there's life in like the whole of space. We talked about that. We've seen that in the movie. And that truth is that or so the truth is that, we have to go by these certain things. Hold on, I think I'm low key just LARPing. Let's move on. Let's move on. Anyway, like I said, there is such a big theme of life going on here. It's really nice. And although I address the 2 parts of, like, physically living and literally living, like, expressing emotion, expressing sadness, which we do see. We see sadness and love and sorry, let me bring that also up. I think love is a very crucial pillar in life. Like I said, Rocky experiences it, and that's how he kinda guides his life, but I think the lack of it and grace is what really drives him into some of those, negative things. Like how we see, like, space can be a very empty place, right? But it can also tell us so much, which is it's a very interesting. It's very interesting. But I think this movie does also a good job. Like, if you don't want to get into that deep, I think it gives us a good example of life itself. Like, yes, in life, we're gonna be thrown into stuff that we don't want to do, right? And it brings up my favorite quote from the movie, which is this is kind of me paraphrasing. It's not the exact quote, because kind of because Grace was talking back and forth, but it's that scene where he's talking to Strat and all the other scientists after the huge explosion. He's like, "I'm not ready. Uh, I'm no I have no training. I'm not an astronaut." And then, some talking goes down. And then we cut to some people are failures. I think he says, like, I think you forget that some people are failures. Some people don't raise up to the challenge. Like, yes, if you like this movie's about life, no matter what. Like, no matter how you like want to see it, like on the crazy like level that I just did, or on the small level, like I'm gonna say now. This movie is about life. Is never ready. You're never gonna be ready in life. Like, you can think you're so ready, get all these things ready, and you're gonna get life just throwing all sorts of shit at you, right? And you're gonna be like pulling your hair out, like what the fuck? I tried so hard to be ready, and I every time it seems like life's just like throwing me a curveball. It's going to do that, right? Like you just like you gotta just like roll with the punches. Just like Grace. Like now probably, it's obviously exaggerated in the film. Like no one's gonna like force you into space to save humanity. But you kind of just gotta like pick yourself up and think about it like, okay, is this issue that I'm struggling with really that like huge, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, is it really that huge? Like, and I think you just gotta take that in for a minute and be like, okay, let me calm down, let me regroup, let me rethink, and just like chill out, right? Because the whole point of life is just to live. And if we're freaking out about all these things about then you're just not gonna live. Kind of like Grace. Like he was so like freaked out that about like him going on this mission that he's forgetting to live. Like he just can't focus on life. And that's so true for us. Like we're so afraid to do all these things. Like we're so afraid to fail. We're so afraid to even try that we just miss out, right? Like we don't get to live that life that we wanted to, and we're so hesitant on everything. And I think that's another thing this movie's trying to tell you. Like just let go, take that leap of faith. Like there's so many times in this movie where like something happens and it's just like a split second choice. Like when Grace goes out into space for the first time, like, he's very hesitant. He's like, "Fuck no," right? Like, "I'm not going out into space," and then he just does it. Or when he takes off his mask for, Rocky, 'cause he doesn't know if there's really oxygen there, he's easily like, "You know what? Fuck it," right? That's what you gotta do sometimes in life. Like, you could see the end goal in sight, but there's that huge valley. You just gotta take a leap of faith. Like they say in Spider-Man. You just gotta do it, right? Even if those choices are hard sometimes, you have to do it if you really wanna live. And I think this movie does a good job at telling that. And and that's one of the reasons I love it. It's such an amazing, like, outlook on life, not just, like, on the grand scale, but, like, on such a minute and human level. And that's why I love the film. That's why I really loved Grace's journey as a character. Like, the whole, like, selfish thing, like, it's so human, right? Like, it's such a human thing to feel. Not jealousy, sorry, no, selfish, I was right. It's so relatable. We've all been in that moment where we're scared to do something, right? And, like, we just gotta do it no matter like what's going on, what we're thinking, what like the 100,000 million outcomes that could go wrong. We just gotta do it. And I don't know. I love this movie. I love what it's trying to say on a deeper level. Like I said, you don't have to buy into everything that I'm saying, but like if you just look at it all, it's really awesome. I don't know, it's really awesome, and I think it's really cool how when space, you get this reflection of life back at you. Like, even if you can't see the aliens, and all that, like, you're seeing. I think it's also really awesome that space is the fundamental part of life. Like, everything comes from space, and I think that's really cool at the beginning of the movie where Grace puts the other 2 astronauts back into space. It's kinda like the Bible verse, "From dust we came and dust we shall, return." I don't know, I thought it was, like, a really cool thing that he put them back into space because that's where we all come from. Like, when the Big Bang happened and, like, everything formed and then life was made, like, that the fact that life goes beyond just Earth, life goes into the cosmos. I don't know, it's just it's beautiful. It's amazing, it's perfect, I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. But those are the themes that I kinda wanted to get home and not just I'm not gonna go crazy overboard, I've kinda already gone overboard, but I really wanted to address those. Those are really awesome. And maybe you've found some cool themes in there. Let me know, let me know, let me know. But moving on, like I said, the characters are really awesome. I think Grace is really cool. I think the fact that we had that like second half of the movie where he is selfish, it's very human, like I said, and it's very relatable. And I think I think that's what makes him awesome. Like, yeah, I think he's very funny. I think that, his relationship with people is very nice, and he's a very, like, likable character. But I think adding that selfishness is, like, what really, like, makes him such a, three-dimensional character. Like, yeah, you could just have, like, the smart, witty science guy, but he's a smart, witty science guy that, like, suffers from, like, a real human thing, and I don't know, I think that's really cool. And then going on to Strat, like, these are the 2 main characters I'm gonna focus on. Like, it's such a sad thing for this character that she wants to live, but she can't. She's forced to be in charge of Project Hail Mary, and it's taking so much from her. I don't know. I love these characters. I think these characters are awesome. Like, it's a tragedy, but the ending's not, but it still kind of is. So like that's what I really like. I don't know. The characters are really well done, and it's just like 100 million times better because of the actor and actress. They really bring them to life, right? Like I said, I didn't read the book, so I don't really know like how the characters differ. But like I think in the movie, it's really good. I love the characters. So like awesome job. Love it. All right. As for the writing, I think the writing in the film was pretty good. Obviously, you know, you take the stuff from the book and you put it in the movie. And obviously, as stuff crosses over, it's not going to be perfect. Again, I'm not going to get into that, but I feel like for the most part, the writing is pretty good. There's a lot of science going on. I will say there's a lot of science going on. I'm not saying that because I didn't understand it, but I could see how somebody that's not into science could kind of be like, kind of like turn their head, kind of be like, hmm. And I'm not saying that because it's like, "Oh my god, there's so much going on," like, it's hard to understand, but, like, there is a lot of science, like, being thrown at you that you kinda just kinda be like, "Okay," right? You gotta say okay to keep moving. If you take a second, like, and actually start to think about it, like, you're gonna be there for a minute, and then you start thinking even deeper about it. It's not complicated, but it is there's just a lot going on, and there's a lot to, like, kinda pick up in such a short time. But it does a good job at explaining. So I will say it does a good job at explaining. You have to, like, really focus. Like, if you're watching in the background and you, like, tone back in and you tune out and you tune back in, you might be a little lost. But for the most part, it is, like, a really good film, even though it's super scientific, which for the most part, I think most of the science is correct. Like, I don't think there's really any science that's incorrect. It's just obviously some things are not real. So that's really awesome. That to me, that's something I really like in movies, is when it's like the science is realistic. Now, obviously, there's moments when science can't be realistic because then the movie would last like what 5 minutes or something. But I think here is a really good example of realistic movies. Sorry, realistic science. Like also the author of this movie, Andy Weir. Like I said, the author of The Martian, he actually focuses a lot on scientific relevancy in his books, and I think it's really awesome that he does that. Because I saw like a video of him talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I just think that's really awesome. 'Cause sometimes you can get so focused on Star Wars or Star Trek. Well, I mean, Star Trek is kinda a little more science focused. But yeah, like Spock is not a real person, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's awesome to see, like, you jump into hyperspace. Like, that's not realistic, right? But it is really cool in here to see, like, realistic science, mostly, and I don't know, stuff like that. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Like I said, writing's really good, especially like with the flashbacks. Then outside of symbolism, all that. I think it's really like well structured, really awesome. I will say the pacing's really good too. Really good. Like even though we're going back and forth a lot, like I said, it kind of picks you up and lets you go. Not really a moment that we can chill out. I think maybe like rewatching it because I rewatched it today before I started my review. Like, maybe you could kinda get, like, a little antsy, like, when he first meets Rocky and stuff like that, like, when he's in space. But, like, that's because 'cause you've seen it before. Like, if you haven't seen it before, then, like, you're not kinda be like right? You're not expecting that next scene, so I got that's not really, like, an issue. I will say, that last act, like, when, Grace wakes up and he's like, "Fuck, I gotta go save Rocky." I think it's just because the movie's a little on the longer side. I think, like, an average person might be like, "Again? Like, we got another issue?" But, like, for the most part, like, it's whatever, like, it's not that long, right? Like, the story's almost over. But I could see how somebody could get kinda antsy and be like, "What? Like, another problem?" But that's not really an issue, like I said, I think the writing's really strong. I think the pacing's really good because, like, for the most part, like, you're pretty well, like, moving along, like, "Let's get it going," right? Like, you're not really staying there for a fat minute, or anywhere for a fat minute, especially the flashbacks. The flashbacks, for the most part, are pretty short, so that's really good. Yeah, you're not really left in a part like again, it's not like One Piece where we're like, we're in the middle of action and we do a flashback. There's nothing like that. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. And like obviously a lot of it goes into like the production side, which we're gonna get into in a minute, which does really cool. Like we do some like cool like moments where we're talking about one thing and we cut to another thing that's like very like similar. And obviously that's just like a writing thing in general, like a movie thing, a story motif in general. But yeah, no, I think this movie is a really good job writing and pacing. The characters are really awesome, especially Rocky. I think Rocky's a really awesome character. I didn't actually talk about that, but I'm gonna talk about it real quick. Like obviously Rocky is meant to be Grace's best friend, but I think he does a really good job at being like a mirror of Grace. And that's why I kind of brought up those like pillars of life. Like he's like what Grace is supposed to be if Grace wasn't like selfish, right? And I think it's really awesome. Like Rocky does so much in the movie to help Grace that like I don't know. All 3 characters are, like, really amazing. I really love them in the movie, and, like, I do wanna say, like, for a character that is like a puppet slash CGI, he's really good. Like, he's a really good character. Now, obviously, that's not saying CGI and puppet characters can't be amazing, right? Like, no one's saying that. Like, I'm not saying that, but for the most part, like, he's a really good puppet, right? I mean, he's a really good character. So especially like his relationship with Grace, like I do think that's really awesome. So like I wanted to give it kudos. I wanted to give it kudos. So there is that. All right. So next we're gonna get into the production side. So we kind of talked about the story. We kind of talked about the characters. We kind of talked about the writing. Let's get into the production side. So aesthetic. We're gonna start with aesthetic. I think the aesthetic of the film is like really well done. I think that, like I said, it's a sci-fi film. It's a comedy drama, and it's not like Star Wars, space epic. It's also not, I don't know, aliens. Oh my God, doom and gloom. Like it's very own type of film, but it does fit in that sci-fi genre really well, which like I've said like numerous times. It's very realistic science, so which is really awesome. Um, Obviously, this is not like 100% realistic. We're like, oh my god, Elridians are real. Like Rocky's real. Like no. But I could see like how if like this thing were to happen, then like it could go down this way. So I think that's really awesome. I don't know. I think the aesthetic is really well done. Like obviously, this is not like crazy like delving into the sci-fi genre, but like. I don't know. Like, I think it creates like a nice little like hole for itself that's like really cool. And, like, obviously, like, I would love to see others like this, but, like, I don't really think, like, we can. At least, like, on a grand scale, we're not gonna have, like, Project Hail Mary 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? Like or, like, another version of Project Hail Mary. Like, for something like Star Wars and Star Trek, like, we could see more of those, obviously, or like an Alien and a Predator, like, that's kind of an easy premise to go by, But, like, I think, like, this is, like, kind of like, I don't wanna say, like, a one and done, but for the most part, yeah. Like, obviously, I haven't seen, like, another movie like this, at least in my time I've seen film, and I've been around for a fat minute. But yeah, obviously, I'm not saying like there can't be, but I just think it's dug a nice little hole for itself in the sci-fi genre that's really nice. So I do gotta say that. And the aesthetic, it's a really nice. It's really nice. It's a very I don't want to say family friendly because that's not like it is. It is family friendly, but that's not what the movie is. It's a very like drama, like sci-fi movie that has like comedy aspects. So that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. So yes, aesthetic is very nice. All right. So next, acting. I want to start off with Sandra Hüller. Sandra Hüller, you did an amazing job. Just gonna say that right off the bat. I actually never seen this actress before. Like, I think I've seen of her, but I haven't ever watched a film with her in there. And this being the first time I actually seen her in a film, I think she's phenomenal. Like I said, I love the character of I think it's Eva Strat, and I think Sandra Hüller did an amazing job. The way she's able to act, and like the way I call it is silent acting. Like we're not like Adrian Brody like yelling across the screen, right? Like we're not. She's not doing that. Like she's saying things and like the tone of her voice, like the subtle movements, like all of that. Like it's just like you can feel and you can see so much emotion coming off of her, even though she's not doing all that. And I think that's really beautiful, like, the way she's able to convey all of these things in such a short period of time, but still be such an integral character is awesome, and it's amazing. So, I wanted to say thank you to Sandra Hüller. She did a phenomenal job, and like I said, my favorite, like, 2 scenes that she did, like, obviously, I love her in the whole film. My favorite 2 scenes that I had to pick is gonna be that scene where she, puts Grace in a coma because the moment you sit down and she starts and Grace tells it out, like you could see the shift. You can see a total shift in her face. And when she's telling him, like, hey, just like make this easy for both of us. Like, like I'm sorry, like, this ruined our friendship. Like you could see it. Like you could see how upset she is that she had to do that, right? Like that's her friend sitting across from like the table from her, and she had to put him in a coma to save the earth. Like humanity, and it's so sad. And then you get to see the opposite for a very few times when she's singing the song. Like I don't know, that was really awesome to see too, right? Like it reminds you that even though like somebody is like so like harsh, they still have that part of them, like right. There's still that light inside of them. So she did an amazing job with such like an interesting character. Like I really like it. I cannot wait to see Sandra Hüller in other films. So thank you. All right, next, Big Dog Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling is one of my favorite actors. Oh, okay. I don't think he is one of my favorite actors. Like I'm gonna put out a video soon of my top 10 favorite actors and actresses and maybe directors, um, and cinematographers. And that's for down the road. That's for down the road. But Ryan Gosling is one of my favorite actors. Like without a doubt. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love him in Blade Runner and Drive. Like no, no, like just beyond that, he's just a really good actor. And I loved him in this film. And I really like the fact that we got to see him like just be beyond like the really good, like strong guy. Like he's very like weak, like in the sense that he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to die. Like he's selfish, and like that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I really enjoyed about the character. Like I already liked the character. Like he's funny. He's like very like Ryan Gosling esque, and I like Ryan Gosling pulls him off like in a really good way. And I think another thing is Ryan Gosling. He always comes out in films that like are not just like, oh, this is Ryan Gosling in the movie, right? Like actors like The Rock, they come out in a movie and you're like, oh, this is The Rock, right? Like he might have a different name, but this is basically this is basically The Rock. Like Ryan Gosling doesn't do that. He's like same with Jake Gyllenhaal. They don't come out in movies that is just Ryan Gosling, Jake Gyllenhaal. They come out in a movie where they encapsulate that character, and I think they always do like a really good job, especially Ryan Gosling. He always does a really good job. He really encapsulates who that character is. Like Ken is not Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling may play Ken in the Barbie movie, but that's not Ryan Gosling. Or in Blade Runner 2049, I think that's the name of it. Ryan Gosling does an amazing job. He's not playing Ryan Gosling. He's playing that android or the synthetic. I can't remember his name. It's been a minute, but he does such a good job. And then here, this movie, oh my god, so amazing that he gets to play like that vulnerableness. Like I'll bring up Blade Runner 2049 because the character in there, he's lonely. But the lonely that he plays in there and then he plays in here are two separate lonelies. Two separate types of lonelies. Obviously, one's an android and one's a human. But still, the way that you can feel like his acting is just such a like so good. And that's to me, that's how I always tell, like a person did a good job, like, if you can feel that act, like, if you could feel what they're putting on, because like, yeah, it's easy to just be, like, sitting here, like, reading off a script, right, like, and, like, rehearsing in front of a camera. But if you could, like, go beyond that and just, convey an emotion onto a camera, onto an audience, you're doing a good job. You're him. Like you are doing a great job. And I think Ryan Gosling does like a phenomenal job here. Like just phenomenal. And I said earlier, I think this movie could be nominated. I think Ryan Gosling could be nominated. And I'm not like Dick Ryan Gosling. Like it might sound like it because I might be. Like no, I'm sorry. No, like I just think he does a really good job in here. And I at least say he gets a nomination, right? Like I don't see why not. He needs a nomination for this film. He did a phenomenal job. Same with Sandra Hüller. She needs a nom. She needs an Oscar nom. I don't know. They did a phenomenal fucking job. They did an awesome job. Like amazing fucking job. Good job to those two. All right. Next is gonna be James Ortiz. This guy awesome job also. Awesome job also. If you're like, who's James Ortiz? He is the voice of Rocky and he is the lead puppeteer. So like not only is it awesome that he did a great job with the puppeteer and like everybody else that was on his team did a phenomenal job, but the fact that he was able to like put a voice to this character was amazing. Like yeah, it's very like not easy to like, like the CGI cute guy, like Grogu from Mandalorian and Grogu, or like Hulk, like oh Hulk smash, like the way they portray characters like that is like they kind of do their thing and then they move on, right? Like you're like waiting for the line, like I am Groot, like you ready for it? But like here, Rocky is not just a catchphrase, not just the cute guy. Like literally, he's not cute. He's like an ugly rock. But which I do gotta point out, design of Rocky is really awesome. So I think whoever designed it in the movie, great job. But like it's deeper than that, and I think him not having a face is also like awesome and like kind of adds to that. Like you see Rocky for who he is, like not who he visually is, but who he is as a person. Like when he saves Grace, you're like Rocky's a good person, right? I don't know. Like I think Rocky is such an awesome character in this movie that I think James Ortiz just like brought to the next level. Like, and the fact that it's just the voice too is just like insane. Like I don't know. He did such a good job, and the fact that he was able to do such a good job and riff with another actor too is even better, right? Like you could do a really good job, like acting, like by yourself, and then doing it with another person. Like that's crazy, right? Like because we've all seen like kind of like really bad CGI where they're like looking up at the tennis ball, and they're like, oh yes, right? Like, but he just like it felt so authentic here. Like it was so nice. Like I want to give kudos to bro. Like he did such a good job. Like even if it's the voice and the puppetry, like that's I'm not trying to downplay that. Those are both an awesome thing too. Like I don't know what he was working with. He did a phenomenal job. Like congrats. All right, next I want to point out Lionel Boyce. He played Carl. I think Carl was a really funny guy. He didn't have a lot going on, but I think he did a good job for being like, the security guard, Grace's friend, and especially the scene where like he kind of turns on Grace where they have to put him in the coma. like, you could kind like, he's like gives a face where he's like, "Grace, you just do it, buddy." And he's also kinda, like, hesitant. So I think he did a really good job. I think he's good in The Bear also, and I wish he had more time in the movie, but he did a really good job. He's really funny, which was really awesome. He's also very serious when he needs to be, so I think he did a good job. As for the last 2 actors I want to address, I think that, like I said, Melina Vaintrub and Ken Leung did an awesome job. I think Melina, obviously, she had a little less screen time, uh, than Leung. She did an awesome job. Like, she did really good. I always like when she shows up and stuff. Like, I just saw her in Silicon Valley recently, so she was awesome in there. But I really like, so kudos to her. She did an awesome job. I think it was really cool to see her on Project Hail Mary too. So I really want to see her in more projects. But for the young, never really seen this actor before, but I think he did a really awesome job for such a short period. Especially that scene he had with Grace when he's like, "I'm not, doing this for me. I'm doing this for others." Like, he has such a short amount of time, but he, like, they both bring the characters to life. But, like, that line, like, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but, like, he's able to, like, put so much, like, when he says that, you could feel that the character has lived through so much, right? Like, he has experienced a lot, just in that line to Grace, and, like, I don't know. It was awesome, so I wanna give shout out to those 2 guys also. They did an awesome job, and every other actor, like, extra, everybody else that was in the movie, awesome job too. But those are the people I really wanted to shout out. They did a phenomenal job. Alright, as for the directing, Phil Lord and no, I said that wrong. Said the wrong names. No, I was right. Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I've seen these guys films before. Like I said, Lego movies, Spider Verse movies. They did awesome. Here, awesome job. Another smash hit. Now, obviously, you can't go bigger than a Spider-Man film, but I think this movie's like pretty high up there because it's Spider-Man, right? Like everybody loves Spider-Man, but this, like okay, b- putting Spider-Man off to the side, I think this is like I think this is their biggest film. Like, it's actually such a good job, and I love what they did here. Like, I really love their films just like all around, like in general, and I really want to see what they make next. I've always loved their films. Like, they're able to like really help you teleport to that other like world, and it's such a good film, right? It's such a good film. I don't know. I love it. I think these guys did an amazing job. They always do an amazing job. Like I said, I want to see what they do next. I want to go back and watch some of their other films. I can't wait to see what they do with Beyond the Spider Verse. I don't know. They did like such an awesome job. I can't just sit here and be like, like I can't. I don't know what else to say. Like they just did such an awesome job, right? Like I don't know. They just literally did such an awesome job. There's nothing else I could say to change that. They just did a really good job. They did a really good job. Um, next, next. All right, next has to go with cinematography. I think the cinematographer for this film just chef's kiss. Like, hold on, let me find his name. Oh, here we go. Cool. Okay. Ah, bro, bro. Okay, cinematographer. I think the cinematographer did a great job. I think Greg Fraser, awesome, bro. Like I know I just sound like a film guy saying this, but I think cinematography is like one of the most underrated parts of film. Like if you don't take a second to think about it, most people are like, "Oh, the director did such a good job behind the camera." Like no, the cameraman and the cinematographer do like an amazing job. This guy, he did a phenomenal job. Like I think this guy had some of my favorite like scenes ever or like shots ever in a movie. Like my favorite shot from this movie is the one. where he's on Rocky, where Grace is on Rocky's ship, and he kind of like looks up into the light, and this rainbow shines on him. Kinda, it's mostly a rainbow. It shines on him, and to me, that's kind of the scene where, like, everything, like, makes sense to Grace, like, all the like, everything that he's been waiting to come back to him has, and he's kinda, like, in this peaceful state, and, like, I think if you just take that scene, like, because what I always do is I try to take a scene from every movie, and, like, like, if you look at that one scene, it makes the whole movie. That, to me, makes the whole movie. Or his camera work for the rest of the film is just awesome. Like, I love when he moves the camera, like, upside down and all that, like, with the ship and with Grace and with space. It feels authentic. It feels like a space movie. It's awesome. Or when the aspect ratios change, like, when we're on Earth, we have the black boxes, and then when we're in space, it's the full screen. Like, you feel like you're in the stars, right? Like, it's so awesome. It's so hard to describe. It's so beautiful. Obviously, like, when they're doing nothing, like, it's just normal camera work with also some really great angles. And then when we're in the action, like, you got this intense camera going on. Like, it's just so beautiful. Like, he did such an awesome job. Like, I really want to go back and see what other films he's worked on and take a look at them and, like, really delve deep into there. And that's why I want to hold off on that film. So I can actually see who my top 10 favorite cinematographers are and really give them the appreciation they need. But this guy, he did a phenomenal job. Like, it really has some of my favorite shots and camera work I think I've ever seen in a movie. Like, really awesome job. Thank you, sir. You did a really great job, Mr. Fraser. I actually think you did such a phenomenal job. Like, thank you. All right, moving on to the CGI, SFX, VFX. So this, like, obviously, there's a lot going on here, but I wanted to give out a huge congratulations to obviously, sorry again if I mispronounce. Vanessa Bastion, Matthew Dugan, David Crossman, Glenn Dillon, Joshua Lee, and Frederick Bu Buhag Buhagir, and then everybody else that worked in these departments. I think everybody that works in this film, like, really brought it to life, and I think if it was without any of these people, this movie would not be what it is. Like, so I think everybody was ringing on the top of their game. Visual effects, will go off on that one. Amazing. Like, CGI, amazing. Like I was saying, that scene with the planet is just it's my favorite scene. And I think it's the VFX, like, at the top of their game in this film. It's beautiful. The planet is beautiful. And then when the astrobate shows up, I think the astrobate is its money shot because it's in the trailers. It's just so awesome. The ships look awesome. Like, I don't know if they're miniatures or not. They're fucking beautiful, especially Rocky's ship. Awesome sauce. Like, I don't know, like, visually, it's so appealing. Like, I just can't help, like, not, talk about it. Like, when you look at it, it's such a nice film. Like, you can't not, like, turn away from it. And that's why I said you need to watch this in theaters. It's such a beautiful film. There's so much going on here that it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, moving on from these VFX and CGI, SFX, sound effects. Oh, sorry. Yes. Sound effects, VFX. I think that the sound in this movie is awesome. I think also the lack of sound in this movie is awesome. I think, obviously in space, like, no one can hear you scream. It's a void. And I think they do that really well in the film. Like, there's some scenes where, like, people are, like, breaking down. They're like, and there's, like, the lack of space, like, you can feel what they're trying to do, like, without hearing it, and it's awesome. Like, there's this one scene in Oppenheimer that I love. It's when the bomb drops and everything goes silent. I remember watching it in the movies. It went it was silent in the whole theater. It's very hard to get those silent moments, but I think this movie did the exact same thing. Well, not the exact same thing, but they're able to replicate it. Like, when they're in space and Grace is knocking on the Rocky's window trying to save him at the end of the movie, same thing. Or, like, when Grace is freaking out and it's just silence, it adds so much depth to it because you really feel that isolation part the movie's trying to make you feel. Like, he's literally in space, no one's saving him. So I thought it was awesome. And then when there is sound, I think it's even better. Like, when the ship's, like, fucking up, like, on top of Adrian, and you're like, What the fuck? Like, awesome. Or, like, the sounds that, Rocky makes, like, they're small and minute, but they're, like, really awesome. Like, everybody that works on his language, like, thank you, that was awesome. Or the sounds that he makes on his arm, awesome. Like, I don't know. The VFX, the puppeteer work, everything that went into Rocky and the whole spaceship and space, it was just awesome. So, like, I just wanna give a round of applause to everybody that worked on it. It was just really awesome. Before I forget, I want to talk about lighting in this film because I think lighting in this film is very important. And it goes into the theme of knowledge, which I did talk about earlier in the film. I think lighting is used in two ways. First, obviously, when you think of space, you think about the dark void of space, right? Um, and getting into like the topic of knowledge, when you see light, that is the knowledge. But in the dark void, like, we see a lot of shots where Grace is in, like, darkness when the light is, like, right outside of them, and I think that's really reminiscent to, like, how we are as humans, we're so close, but, we're hiding in that box, right? And, like, whether or not that's our choice, like, we're just, like, we're not really to take that jump or not, like, that's, like, the that's, like, a metaphor thing. But, I mean, I think it's awesome, like, when you get able to look at that shot and you can say something see something like that, that's awesome. Or maybe with the isolation theme, like that scene with, Grace and Rocky where, he's hiding in the hallway when he tells, Rocky that he's not able to go back home, and then Rocky's like, "No, no, no, you can come back home, I'll give you, fuel," and then Grace comes out into the light, like, awesome. Like, I love how they're able to use light with, like, knowledge and darkness with no knowledge, and then light and dark with, like, loneliness and being together. I think it's awesome. I think also at the same time, when we're on Earth, we also see, like, kind of like more of a dimness, kinda like the dim reality, what's going on, as compared to space when it's a lot more colorful. So I think that's really cool too. I wanna shout out to everybody that did that, worked on that too. That was really, really awesome. Really great job. Alright, music. I think the composer for this film was amazing. I want to give a huge shout out to Daniel Pemberton, everybody else that worked on the instruments, obviously. He did such a good job here at making music sound so grand, like in the moments that we needed it to, where you're like, oh, like right, like the opera music, obviously not opera, but you get what I'm saying. Like it was so amazing, like it felt so epic. And then in the scenes where we needed to get quiet and like real and emotional with the characters, awesome too. Awesome too. Like the way we can contrast so like separately and then bring it together, like he did such a good job. Like, I love the soundtrack in this film, and obviously that goes into the SFX too. Like, sound effects in this movie are awesome. Like, he did such a good job with the music in here. Like, so like, uh, great job, great job to everybody that worked on the music. Great job. Like, he did awesome. I love it. I love it. I really don't know what this guy else did. So I really want to look into it, see what else soundtracks he has under his belt. 'Cause he did a phenomenal job here. I can't wait to see what he works on next. Like I said, he did an awesome job. A fucking awesome job. Like that's literally all I have to say. He did a fucking awesome job. I love it. It was fucking amazing. It was beautiful. It was beautiful because there's very few times in films. Well, I wouldn't say very few times, but like I feel like sometimes we get so like used to it, like oh my god, that's Jurassic Park, or like oh my god, that's Superman. Like we all hear those familiar themes, right? But outside of that, when do we really hear familiar themes? Like outside of I feel like I'm having a hard time explaining this, but, like, sometimes, like, we kinda take those themes for granted, and I think this was a really good soundtrack, so I just really wanna say thank you. You did a you did an awesome job, bro. You did an awesome fucking job. Thank you. Alright, next, costumes. Costume/production design. Like I said, I think the puppeteer work was awesome. I think some of them were miniatures, awesome. Um Now, also the inside of the ships, I think those are really awesome. Like the sets, like I think the Project Hail Mary set was awesome. I don't really know how they did the obviously probably thinking like CGI and like suspension cables and all that. But I think like the actual sets, maybe like they're moving around kind of like Inception and all that. Like I think the sets were fucking awesome. Like Project Hail Mary, especially Rocky's ship. So I don't know how much of that's CGI. I don't know how much of that was CGI, but For whatever was actual, like, set, I think the set people were awesome. I think they did a phenomenal job. So, kudos to those, and then let's see if I have the name right here. I think I do. Give me a second. Give me a second. I think I already said it. I think I already said it. The costume designer. I think the suits in this, this the costumes are not like, "Oh my god, we see Captain America on the screen," but, like, they were really awesome. I think the, like, red suit that we see in the film is really awesome, and I wonder if it's, like, a reference to the suit from 2001: A Space Odyssey, because that suit's really familiar too, and I think this suit will, like, go down in history as a very familiar sci-fi suit, which is always really awesome to see, like, like, "Oh, that's a familiar, like, movie suit," like, "That's a familiar movie car or a movie prop," stuff like that. It's always really awesome to see, so I think, like, that will be a familiar ship. I think it'll be a familiar costume, and I do wanna say, there's a number 2 on the back of, um, Grace's suit, and I wonder if that's a reference to the fact that Grace was not the first choice, he was the second choice. I don't know, it's a little thing, but I wanted to address it because it looked really cool. But, yeah, no, I think the costumes in the suit were costumes in the movie are awesome. Like, mostly just, obviously, all of the costumes are good, but, like, I really wanna focus on Grace's, like, space suit. I think that was really, really cool. I think I like some of the clothes that he wears, like the one in the poster here, like horseshoe bend race, like that's a really cool one. Or like all the Project Hail Mary gear, that looks pretty cool. But yeah, I think the costumes were awesome. And I think that mostly goes for most of like the actual movie stuff. All right. So for any possible plot holes unanswered, so I don't really have any plot holes here. Like I said, I think mostly everything was scientific. I did see that people were complaining about like I don't know what it's called. It's the thing that moves, that spins really fast with the when they were doing the samples. People are like, "Oh my god, you gotta put them on separate sides. You can't put them together." I've seen people complain about that, and people saying it's fine. So like that's something I don't really care about. I'm not like, "Oh my god, they broke my movie!" Like right, like I don't care. I don't care. Obviously, this is not like the MCU. We don't got any post credit scenes, but I did read that there's supposed to be a sequel. I see. Okay, my rule of thumb is if you can make a good story, make it. If you're forcing it, no. But like, this is such a good movie. Like, do we need a sequel? Right? Most people are probably gonna be like, "No, Josh, shut the fuck up." The answer is no. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, you can come up with a really good movie when you're like kind of forced into that corner, and you're like, "Oh, what do we do here?" Right? Sometimes you can come up with some really good stuff. So that's why I don't want to necessarily be like, "No, like I don't want to film." But also at the same time, like this is a really good film. I really don't want them to mess it up, right? So that I did see that. So other than that, there's not really any plot holes I have. So like I can't really be like, "Oh yes, for the sequel, I want this." But yeah, I don't really know what's gonna go. There's not even a sequel book, so like I really don't know what the fuck they're gonna do here. I really don't know. So, but yeah, no, I love this film. I thought it was awesome. Okay, next. Okay, public perception versus personal perception. So, public perception. I think everybody loves this film. I keep saying that. I love this film. There's not much of a difference here. Like that, this part's usually like if the movie is like kind of like separated amongst the masses. But I think everybody really loved this film. I think everybody really loved the acting, Rocky. Like, there's so many parts of this film. You can't just be like, "Oh, everybody loved Ryan Gosling." I mean, like, yes, they did, but I think everybody like loved everything about this film. It was like visually appealing in the theaters. Like, it felt like a movie, like I talked about. Like, it could pull on your heartstrings. It could make you laugh. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here that people really, really liked. That it will be a classic. Like, people will come back to this movie. I think. At least in my opinion. And I really love the movie. Like obviously, like I like it for like a lot deeper reasons than like a lot of other people. So like obviously I guess there's like the difference there between me and public perception, but for the most part, it's like I have the same opinion as most people. Like I really love the film. So there is that. Next. All right. So longevity of the film, at least in my opinion. Okay. So I think this movie, like I said, it kind of ties in with the last thing that I said. Everybody really loved this film. So I think this movie will probably be in a lot of people's collections. When I say that, I mean like physical media and probably like also digital media. Like in the sense that, like you buy the movie on iTunes or whatever, like Prime or whatever. Like I buy physical media, as you can see in the background. But I have like all my movies back kind of like if you could see like this, like right there. Like I have them back there. I have a movie, all my Blu-rays and 4Ks for the movies that I like. I saw a lot, but I still have some, which is really awesome. I'm trying to get more, obviously, but but bills. But no, anyway, like, I think physical media everybody that buys physical media buy this film. I think sci-fi, lovers will buy this film. I think moviegoers will buy this film, and I even really think that, like, the average Joe, like, will buy this film, like, on a physical media. Now, obviously, if you don't buy physical media, I think everybody that has digital media will buy it, like, those are the go-to, I think, that'll be right away, 'cause I'm literally biting at the chops trying to buy this on 4K. Like, I always forget when it comes out, and I gotta look it up on my phone. I'm like, "What? August?" Like, yeah, no, I think this movie will definitely be in everybody's collection. And obviously, like, if you don't buy physical media, this will be a constant thing that people probably stream on, streaming, right? Like, that's the new thing. Like, we have streaming; it's not going away anytime soon. So, because that's what my parents do. Like, sometimes, like, even though they collect physical media, not kind of like to my extent, they did it because like that's what they like grew up with as like adults. Like, they had physical media; there was no streaming services, so like when they wanted to rewatch a movie, they would buy the movie. But now that we kinda live in a streaming era, they too kinda, like, go back and, like, watch Top Gun, or whatever, now and then. But I do think, like, something like this, you know, people will go back and they'll be like, "Oh, I wanna go watch Project Hail Mary," or, like, if they're, like, on Amazon Prime or something, they see Project Hail Mary, they're like, "Oh, this is a good movie, let me go watch it again." So, like, yeah, I do think it'll be at the top of people's list for collections and physical and or streaming media. Alright. So, favorite shot, scene, and quote. So, I already kind of talked about this, but we're gonna go over it again. Personally, for me, this is my first time, obviously, doing my review. This is something that when I look at it, when I go back on it, and I look at these, they obviously bring up writing, they obviously bring up acting, production, all that. Um, but it also tells the story of the movie, like, in within each of these. So my quote, like I said earlier, it's that scene when Grace is talking to everybody in the room, and they're telling him, "You gotta go on that spaceship." And he said it's kind of a paraphrase, like I said, "I'm not ready. I have no training. I'm not an astronaut," right? And then he does some more talking. Then he comes back to some people like you don't like. This is something you don't realize. Some people are failures. Some people don't rise to the challenge. And then he says some more stuff, but like that like really drove home a lot, right? Like it goes down to the core of his character. It goes down to like what this movie's trying to say, and like it like really makes you feel right. Like he can't do it. Like why are you forcing him? But like he's the only one that can do it. So you're kind of like, right? Like you feel bad for him because you've been watching him this whole movie, right? And you're like, "Well, don't send him up there." But then you're like, "But this is the only guy that can save humanity." So like there's a lot going on there just in those few words, and I really really like it. Like this scene was going to be like this is like my second favorite scene. So like I wanted to get these quotes in here because these are my favorite quotes. As for my favorite scene, actually we'll do shot first. My favorite shot, like I said, it's that one where Grace is in Rocky's spaceship, and he's looking up, and the light is reflecting on him, and it's kind of a rainbow. Because there's a lot of times in this film where Grace is going back and he doesn't know something, but in this scene, it feels like Grace really knows everything, right? He's finally there, and he like kind of looks up in the light, like because as I'm saying, like as I said, the light in this film like works a lot. Like, not only does the light reflect on him and he knows everything, but he finally has a friend. He's finally not being lonely anymore. It has so much meaning, just like in that light, right? Like I don't know, I just love that shot. Like it's such a beautiful shot. I don't know, like when he I don't know. It's perfect. It's a perfect shot. And as for my favorite scene, like I said, it goes back to the middle of that movie when he's standing in front of Adrian, he kind of just like, floating. The weight of the world is off his shoulders. He's staring life in the face right there, and he's letting like asteroids go past him. And he's finally accepted everything. All of his issues compared to the grand scheme of everything are so tiny, so minute. It's a perfect shot. It's beautiful. I don't know. All three of those are amazing, and there's so many beautiful shots in this film, and so many beautiful scenes, dialogue. that like it was hard to pick these 3, but I did pick these 3. I probably have, like, top 10 shots, top 10 favorite scenes, you know? Like, this movie was literally amazing, like, I cannot stop saying that, right? So, like, I don't wanna be like, "Oh, you know, it was okay." Like, no, no, it was really, really good. It was really good. Like, definitely go see this movie. Like, if you love movies, if you love sci-fi, all that, definitely go see this movie. Like, I can't just put it to those 3, but if I had to, those would be those 3. Alright, so we're at the end here. Let me do my rating real quick. I think this film is a 4 out of 5 stars. If you know anything about my rating, I use the Joshua scale. Yeah, I know you might be like, it's a little egotistical. Joshua scale is 0 to 5, halves included. So like 0, 0.1, 0.5, 1. It's a 4. I think it's a 4. It was fucking phenomenal. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was perfect. Like I couldn't not watch it, right? Like it was amazing. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it. Um, as for like my concluding sentence, like I said, this is an awesome film. I think the acting, the cinematography, the production, design, the puppetry, the VFX, SFX, music, and then the writing, and then what it's trying to tell you are all beautiful. It's like this nice wrapped Christmas present that like, you can just keep enjoying every time you watch it. Like, when I watched it the second time today, like, there was some new stuff that I saw, and that's always amazing, like, when you watch a movie and you're like, "Oh, I missed this. Oh, I missed that." Like, it's such an awesome feeling on top of, like, it being such a great movie, and it's a movie, like, right? Like, it feels like that. It's just awesome. Like, I really think you should go see it. Like, you should always see it like, you should definitely go see it in theaters if you get the chance, but at the end of the day, you should still see it. It's a fucking phenomenal film. Like, I just can't sit here and be like, "Oh, it was good." No, that doesn't do it justice, at least in my opinion. It was like, it's as close as you can get to perfect without it being perfect, you know? That that's what I have to say about this film. It was amazing. It was awesome. I loved it. Just go see this film because it's so great. It's literally so great. I don't know. It was awesome. It was awesome. But, yeah, so that's gonna be my that's gonna be my review. As you can see, this is a very long video. This kinda like probably what a bunch of videos will be like. So if you're like, obviously, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but if you do, like let me know. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. Obviously, this is my first review. We got some more reviews coming up because I'm kind of behind schedule right now. So we're probably gonna have to post like 5 or 6 videos after this to get caught up. But I'm really excited. I actually had a lot of fun doing this. It's actually really nice to sit down and actually talk about it as opposed to just like writing it down and then just like going off my day. But, yeah, no, it was really fun doing this. Like I said, this movie was awesome. I can't wait to keep doing this more on YouTube, on this channel, like more movies. I can't wait to keep going more and more into my love of film and talk about it more. Like, if you have any cool ideas for what you want me to talk about, let me know. If you have any cool suggestions for films, let me know. Like, I'm more than happy to talk about it with you. Just let me know in the comment down below. Let me know what you think about this film, Project Hail Mary. Let me know what you think about literally any part of it. Maybe you just think it's an awesome film. Let me know. Maybe you didn't think it was an awesome film. Let me know. But yeah, that was an awesome film. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys watched, and see you next time. Thank you.